Hello, I am the Ronin Pawn, and welcome to a twitch.tv/Ronin Pawn live stream on twitch.tv/Ronin Pawn. Just popping in to tell you guys, I don't think I'm going to stream today. You know, I just don't feel like it. I don't want to stream today, so I don't think I'm going to stream today. Just want to let you know that on the live stream, I'm just not going to be bothered with it, you know? Bunch of fucking hassle setting everything up and showing up to the damn thing and hanging around for 3 hours, not getting anything done in my friggin' library that I'm writing, because I'm talking about, you know, the nature of existence and Jesus' teachings and fucking Buddha and whatnot. I got better things to do with my life, you know? The stream has started. Points are now online. Shut up! What do you think that sound is? It's the sound that it always is, and that would be the low disk space warning, because I haven't deleted the latest live streams from memory. I need to get bigger hard drives, or just reconsolidate the space that I've got right now. Over here on M, we'll see under Custom RTMP, here's the latest live streams. Look, there was that one. That was a good one, huh? It was brief. It was, like, punchy. Talked about, you know, the nature of just the universe and life and everything, and 43 is what we came to in the end. Look at all of these live streams that I've done recently. Look at all that space I just freed up on Drive M. Isn't that great? Stop the recording, start the recording, so that I have something to delete later, you know, have a recording of these. And that's fine, because I enjoy doing this quite a bit alone. It's like masturbation. Funner when there's no one. Well, actually, masturbation is more fun when there's other people in the room. Most things are, really. So if you show up, that'll be good. But if you don't, you know, I can still jerk one without anybody's help. It's just better if there is someone to help. So this is my thing again. What are you doing? What are you doing? Live split. Piss off. We don't need you today. And we need you. What? Okay. Interesting. That's not actually happening on my screen. That's not actually happening on my... Oh, I know what it is. It's, because you're tapped into window capture for my little... You tapped into the window capture for the way that I'm faking in Tkinter the ability... Hello, Segorach? Or Chegarak? How do you like that said? Give me a phonetic spelling with all the tildes and the ampersands and everything in there. The way that I'm faking being able to have yourself a, you know, window in Tkinter's, or in Python's Tkinter, that, you know, actually has, like, you know, I feel great. I'm not eating while I'm live streaming. Feel good. To have an actual taskbar item, well, the window is in a How you doing, by the way? Indeed. I feel that way myself. Indeed. Everything's just indeed. I'm faking that this taskbar handle actually exists by having two windows open, because this is in the override direct mode, where the Windows Manager assumes that it's a tooltip window or something like that. And that's really the only way that you can get rid of, like, the top bar and make something look nice. If you think a top bar is not nice anyway, which I don't. So that's how I'm faking it, is with this. And apparently my little window capture there was tapping directly in to the window, even when it's minimized. Good on you, OBS, I guess. But yeah, so it's minimized constantly. It's an invisible window. You cannot see it even when it is on the screen. It's only unminimized when you're doing the dragging, because then what it's doing is it's following along, so that, as you can see, if you drag it over to another screen, it will behave the way that a window should. I'm faking it. I'm faking it because it's the best possible solution that I've found, anyway, for making Tkinter not suck, for enabling the basic, like, functionality of Windows once you've customized. everything, and I have skinned absolutely every friggin' thing in this library that I make, or everything that's in this library you can
Fake
skin
it until you make it.
I've made it, and I'm faking it. I'm gonna keep faking it even after I've made it, because, you know, that's how they do in Hollywood, so it seems to work out pretty good for them. I'm gonna fake, I'm gonna pretend that I'm eating during the live stream. Red lentils. On top of an early failure in my attempt to make tortillas. This is the one that came out like a cookie in terms of thickness. It's good. It's good. And the red lentils with, you know, turmeric and a whole bunch of things. I put the whole friggin', you know, kitchen into every dish that I make.
Is that technically food?
It's technically food, in fact. Yes, it is. Check it out. Here's what's left of it. Boy, the color doesn't really come across. It's, you know, turmeric. So it's got that, like, luminescent orange thing going on. Can't really see it on the stream there. Can you get me back over to the code? Because everybody's really interested in the friggin' code. Yeah, so red lentils, broccoli, like real, you know, not frozen, actual, just raw broccoli that has been cooked. Now, there's peas in there, some turmeric, probably some fenugreek, because if I'm throwing turmeric in, I might as well throw some fenugreek in. I'll probably put some tahini in there. I throw everything in a pot while I'm making food, and it's delicious. I'm an excellent chef. And I can say that because I was actually employed as a kitchen manager, kind of. I mean, in the Zen Center, somebody had to run the business, and everybody else left, and I was there. And they were like, I guess you're in charge now. I was like, yay! I'll run a commercial kitchen that generates 6 digits worth of income every year. Sure. It was, I'd been doing everything in that kitchen for years and years and years. It's exactly like the story of, you start out washing dishes, right? They have you wash dishes, and then, like, after 6 months of washing dishes, maybe they let you, I don't know, slice some onions or something like that. You just work your way up, and over the course of, like, 2 years, I did every single job in that kitchen. And then the day came when there was literally no one else to do the job.
Are you working in Red Hat today? Linux joke.
It's Maroon more, actually. It's Maroon Linux. But yeah, I was there for the better portion of 3 years, and literally, like, people who had just, like, walked in the door, been there for a couple of weeks, were being appointed kitchen manager, in the absence of, like, an official kitchen manager over me, because they didn't want me running anything. For whatever reason, my Zen master did not want me running anything. And then it came down to, there's nobody else here. Nobody wants to do it. No, it can't be. Somebody's got to do it. All right, Risham, you're
There
up.
he goes again, reminiscing about his glory days.
These are my glory days. Do you not see the code? It is gloriful. Gloriousful? I don't know what the word is. It's, you know, words fail me when I look at this code. It's just so gloriousful. So, as you will notice, nothing has changed about, like, this whatsoever. And what that means is that I've added about 250 lines of code in order to do exactly what it was doing before, but, you know, better. So, what has changed since the last time I showed you the code is that I do now have a skinnable class. I'll show you how the skinnable class is used. That's a big chunk of it. But if, say, you want to make a little button, like this one over here, the close button, you will do, you'll create a skinnable object where you tell it the images that you want to use for that object. We've got a normal image and a mouse over image. I've plugged those in, and boom. Now you got, well, that gives you the skin, and then you instantiate the actual button, which is a pushable in my class, and then you, what? Skin, and then, like, in line, you actually can, you know, declare, I want this to be skinned with this, so it's a one-line thing. You make the pushable as close button, and then you place it on the canvas. 3 lines, and you get it nicely skinned, and, more importantly, because you've made a skin, you can now use this skin on anything, and you won't be generating additional images as you do, which in the initial version of this, I had thought about this issue, but I was just trying to get it working, and I think I was generating, in order to like make this screen pop up, maybe 150 images, because each like one of these checkboxes had 4 of its own unique images. Now, since they're all skinned with the same thing, this checkbox has 4, and this checkbox has the same 4, which has the same as those 4 and the same as those 4. So in memory, you can actually see where I was testing it earlier right now. I'm using 56 images is what's being loaded into memory. And the bulk of those are for the scroll bars, actually, because if you count them up, each one of these objects is going to have 4 images to it, because there's 4 states: active, hovered, or no, normal, hover, active, and disabled. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, in fact 24, because there's 2 layers to a toggleable, so there's 8 images. But, so we've got, what did I say, 4, 8, 12, 28. We've got 28 images right there. And then come the scroll bars. Scroll bars are 4 images per object that goes into a scroll bar. Scroll bar is manufactured for you in my library based on the image that you hand me for just the end. So I've got a little bit of a curved end to, both sides of that. Hand me the little curve that you want at the end, the image that you want at the end, and then hand me an image that will represent the middle. It can be just 1 pixel. That's what I'm using right now, and I will draw that 1 pixel all along the middle of it, and I'll draw the caps at the end of it for you and hand back a completed scroll bar. But that does mean that you're going to have 4 different states for the middle, because again, we got normal, hover, active, and disabled. So for the middle image, for the end cap
Note
images...
57, Heinz Special Recipe Ketchup.
We can add one more in, and then we'll be there, I guess. Thank you, Jermasian. So yeah, you've got to have 4 images for the middle, you got to have 4 images for the end, and then you've got to have 4 images for the middle and the end for the trough in which the scroll bar functions. So you've got 4, 8, 12, 16, and that's just for the vertical scroll bar, because then there's a horizontal scroll bar that even if you don't see it when you're using the scroll paintable class, it's there waiting to be needed. So that means if we got 4, 8, 12, 16, then what we've actually got is 32. So there's 32 images that are loaded in to support these 2 scroll bars, plus the 28. 32 and 28 is 60. So how do I must have done my math wrong, huh? 4, 8, 12, 16, 24. 24, not 28. 24 plus the 32, and that's how you get up to the 56 that we're using. So there is not a single image wasted, except for if you consider the possibility, as I have been thinking about and was tinkering with the code earlier, the idea of, in this instance, I am only using 2 images. I'm only using the active image the normal image and the hover image. I'm not using active and I'm not using disabled. So what happens in that case is the code automatically takes the normal image and makes it the disabled image, and it automatically takes the hovered image and makes it the active image. Now, those could be the same image with the same linkage that points to the same thing, and then, when I'm only using 2 images, I would only have to load 2 images in. The problem arises because of the way that Python handles the idea of like passing references or passing, objects or variables or whatever you want to call them. But, passing a reference to a thing that already exists or passing the thing, like a copy of the thing that already exists. And I actually already have code in here that I thought was going to work that way, and it turns out, no, it's not going to work that way. Where if I've got 2 images that are the same, brought in via the same path call, I've got a whole bunch of code here that just goes, okay, then make the next image equal to that image that's already been loaded into memory. Sadly, that does not pass a reference, apparently. It passes a whole new image. is how it appears. I mean, either I'm doing something wrong, which is entirely possible here. I'm quite confused by this code now that I've tried to come back to it. But like right here at the beginning, the first things that get loaded in are the check bars. And you can see PyImage3, because we've already loaded in like a background image and something else. But PyImage3 is the checked.png. PyImage4 is the checked mouseover.png. But because I didn't provide an active state for when you're clicking on a check bar, I'm clicking on it right now, since it doesn't change to another image, what it does is it automatically loads in the hovered image into the active state. So I figured it wouldn't generate another image. We wouldn't get PyImage5 because I'm saying that this one that's already loaded in, make this one equal to that one, and then we'd have a reference. But apparently when I'm saying make this equal to that, it's going, okay, I'll make you a copy. So it's making yet another image to store in memory, which sucks. Now, I can absolutely get around that by using immutable, by using strings. Like if instead of directly referencing these images, if I reference these images from a like master list, this is how I would go about it. I'd make a master list of all of the images that we've loaded in, and they would have like a it would be a dictionary probably, but you'd call it as a string. So you'd say, I want that out of there. So it would be stored in one place once, and then inside this skinnable class that I've got, whenever you called for the image in slot 2, or, you know, the active image or something like that, it would actually reference the actual location where the image has been stored, as opposed to having a local copy of it. And that would get around this. Theoretically, anyway. I don't know that I can be bothered, because this is storing one image for every state, and it's doing so without having to load the image multiple times from disk because of the code that I've already written that I thought was going to prevent it from loading the image in, you know, from having a duplicate image. At the very least, it is preventing it from going back to the disk and reading the same image for a second time, if indeed that's what the low-level code is doing. I don't know what the low-level code is doing, but, you know, it is at least preventing us from doing the disk access check again. So I don't know if I can be bothered, at least at this point, to create a whole, like, it wouldn't be that complicated, but to, like, change the system the way that I've got it running right now to support this idea of a global list of all the images, and then search the global list of all the images to see if we've got a match and that kind of thing. It's a good idea. I really like it. It'll probably go in sooner or later. But right now we are talking about, you know, images that are very small in the first place, and you're storing 4 of them for each of the 4 states, and it's just like, you know, at least I've gotten it down to the minimum reasonable state, because before, each one of those checkboxes that are in that application right there would have had their own 4 images. They weren't linked to a to a class, or to a, you know, an object where they'd all come from. The same each time. So I'm thinking, fuck it. It's kind of what I'm thinking right now. What do you think about fuck it? Maybe fuck it? Fuck it sounds good. At least for today. That said, now I have nothing to do. Because I got it all working again. It took me the whole day. And in fact, all of yesterday too, to basically remake this system to incorporate the idea of a skinnable class. We now have a... What else have I got here that's new? The skinnable class at the very bottom. Now that we do have the skinnable, I have, changed the way that the scrollable pane works. I've changed some of the ways that the... Jesus Christ, this is a huge class, that the scrollable works. And I've also added a number of other classes. We've got the bar skin. Bar skin. This is the actual class now. Instead of this all being built into one class, I've built a class where you hand it the image for the middle of a bar and the image for the end of a bar, and it generates, you know, the image of the bar. And, well, actually, I've got that as a function. This one, you hand it the 4 images for the bar, the 4 images for the end, and it generates a skinnable where you've got the 4 bars in their state. Huh? Play nice shot, kid. That file doesn't nice shot, kid. Does maybe, I don't know, what is it supposed to be? I don't know. But, yeah, so I've got a class now that generates the 4 bars for you so that you could really just get, the bars out. Then I've got the scrollable skin, which holds 2 of those, 2 barables, because you need the bar skin for the troughs, and you need the bar skin for the handles, and it also handles all of the idea of being able to...
Great shot, kid! That was 1 in a million!
There we go. Great shot, not nice shot. That's you were thinking, hey man, nice shot. Good shot, man. That's why I say, hey man, nice shot. What a good shot, man. Hey man. That's what you were thinking, right? This also handles the idea of, since I've got skinnables now, there's linkages created between all of the objects and the skins that are made, so that what you could do, theoretically, is I could say bind a button, maybe like one of these. I could bind a button that when I click it, it would change the image that's loaded in for a checkbox generally, and then the checkbox itself, the skin for the checkbox, would go through its list of all of the people who have registered with it, who have like pulled the images, and it would say, okay, all you people, update. And you could change all of the checkboxes how they look with basically a command or 2, which I think is just really fucking cool. So scrollable skin does all of that while holding actually 2 bar skins, which are skinnables. So a bar skin, bar skin? Maybe I should call it a barable skin. But a bar skin is a skinnable, a scrollable skin contains 2 bar skins, and then a scrollable pane skin contains 2 scrollable skins, which contain 2 barable skins, which are skinnables. Or which are skinnables. The scrollable pane skin is so that you can hand one set of troughs and caps and handles and mids and all that kind of stuff. You can hand me just the end cap there and this middle cap here, and I will now, from that, make a bar that will fit your window, and it can update. It's all in there. But I'll make the bar for you, and then I'll also turn it horizontally. I'll make the bar down here, and I'll store both of those images. And the scrollable pane skin is so that you can hand in one skin that represents how every scroll bar in that pane should look. And then if you do have 2 scroll bars, which I could do by coming out here and modifying wherever it is that I call it, be here. If we said under scroll bars, if we said give me a horizontal scroll bar. So the first one is for horizontal, and the second one is for vertical, and we're overriding the vertical right now with a automatic check to see if we need one. So they'll both appear. Or it'll break, because I didn't put a comma in there. Now they'll both appear. And this one is currently in the disabled state because we don't need it. So it put it there because I told it put it there regardless of whether I need it or not. And then it, made it into the disabled state. And yeah, it's ugly, that color. I know. But it's just, during testing and stuff. So, yeah, you get all of these images generated for you simply by sending in one thing. In fact, here's where it's happening. After I load in the mids into a skinnable for the troughs and the caps for the troughs, and then the handle mids and the handle caps, then I can make a scrollable pane skin, handing it each one of these skinnables. And once I've got that, I can just say scroll test.setSkin scroll pane skin. So this scroll test object is this whole window right there. It's the whole window, including the scroll bars. And all I have to do is tell it to set the skin to the scroll pane skin that I've made. And boom, both of the scroll bars will be, textured, will be skinned. If I were to just not, let's say I commented that out, then this is what we get. Okay, I have gone back to the code as well where it concerns scroll bars, and I have made it so that we support, before you load images in, I'm supporting mouse over and hovers on the troughs as well, because this used to work. That always worked. But I didn't do it for the scroll bar troughs because they were a different kind of a class, and they didn't work the same way. Well, now they work the same way. I do have to, like, write the troughable class basically from scratch because of how it operates. It's different than all of the other classes because it's a backgroundable instead of a hoverable at its base. So basically the troughable is the beginning of a class that can use a backgroundable space and have hoverable, clickable, disableable, all that kind of stuff, which is what hoverable is for the other sort of string of classes that I've got that allow for buttons and clickables and hoverables and draggables and all that kind of thing. But the troughable class now works like that does and accepts a skin from the, hoverable lineage of classes. The same kind of skin goes in, and it can manipulate it all seamlessly. I've also been able to massively reduce the amount of code, not massively, but I've been able to cut the amount of code down pretty significantly for the hoverable class, which will be under the canvasable, under the backgroundable, there's the skinnable, and then under the skinnable we get the hoverable class, which used to contain a lot of the base image management stuff that's now all being handled by the skinnable. So this is a much more concise, to the point, does what it's supposed to do, and gets out class than it used to be, because I've just moved the functions around. I've also taken some local functions that were members of classes. They were class functions before, and I've made them generic functions that anything can call. This includes my function for drawing a bar from two images, the trough image and the cap image, and it will draw the bar, and it will figure, you tell it that you want it taller than you want it wide, then it'll draw it tall to wide. If you tell it wider than long, then it'll just figure it out and draw it wide to tall, and that all happens in that amount of code, just by checking, is the width greater than the height. And then the put to image class as well, which is my genius. I'm so proud of this little function. Not class, this little function. Method. It's Pythonic, people will call it, I think. But yeah, I'm so, proud of this because in this short line of code, you can basically rotate an image, mirror an image on the x-axis, on the y-axis. You can do whatever you want to do with an image in the photo image class, draw it back, and it will happen lickety-split, which is different than, how it used to be when I was reading every pixel and then writing every pixel back. Genius little class or function method, whatever you want to call it. Oh, it's even better now it's cold. But yeah, so everything works exactly the way that it did before, but it does so, it's a lot better. It's a lot cleaner. It also allows for people to use it with a less bullshit implementation, is what I would say. Less bullshit from the, design area. Yeah. So I'm going to take that back out. I don't want the horizontal scroll bar in there. It's just ugly. And that makes it look good. Yeah. Like I just said, I think I'm going to just leave things be where it comes to, micromanaging the image storage, and trying to cut it down even more on how many images get loaded in. Maybe someday I will bother with it. Today I don't think is that day. So I'm going to take the code out for that. Hang on. Duplicate. Do we get any duplicates? Do you ever register a duplicate? We do need to look at this code, though. We do need to look at this code because I feel something is broken in Denmark. Something is broken in this code. And as soon as I finish eating, we'll actually, I'll give it shit. But I got one bite left here, and what are you gonna do? Red lentils. Red lentils. You guys eat red lentils? I recommend them over green lentils. Green lentils take longer to cook. They're, green? Who likes green? Especially green lentil green. It's not even green. It's like dark. It's like, ugh. You know? Who likes that color of green? I don't want to be colorist, but red is superior to green in every way. And that's just genetics. That's just, there's nothing you can argue with there. Okay? That's just the way that God made us. Some colors are just naturally superior to others. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, you know? Some colors are lazy and just sucking off the government teat. Other colors, wow, this sounds really, it sounds really, really close to what it's supposed to be mocking, doesn't it? Because I'm talking about colors. In my head, I started out thinking, yeah, you're talking about like colors, like on the rainbow shade. But now, as I'm listening to the words that are falling out of my mouth, it's not really, it's just, it sounds like it's saying exactly, it sounds like it's not mocking racism. It sounds like it's just racism. Hey, what are you gonna do? Some colors are just better than others, and I'm the wrong color. Peach just doesn't do it. They're slower, they're dumber, they more often have chronic fatigue issues, you know, that strike about stage 30, 32, something like that, they say. That's not how old I am. I'm going to turn 19 next week. Yeah, so something is afoot in the state of Denmark. And what is afoot is that none of this, like, I wrote this little algorithm, I wrote this check duplicates function down here to be able to detect duplicates and not, you know, waste time with them, and it is not being called. I wrote it into the change paths side of things, but I did not write it into the instantiation side, apparently. So there's a little bit of a mess here. What's happening right there is we're going through, we know that there's going to be 0 through 3, or a length of 4 images that are going to be handed in, or at least there's positions for 4. You don't have to hand all 4 in, but we know that there's going to be positions for 4. So for each of the 4 that are going to be in that list there, or rather this list here of paths that have been handed in, we're going to go through there and we're just going to load the images. And that's not how I intended for this to be. Now, I do have this change paths method that I've written. And let's try, I think this is going to go really wrong. But let's try if I just call the change paths algorithm from the command line here, and then we hand in sure, normal path and hover path and active path and disabled path. Okay, and we just hand that through. That should take care of some things, maybe. Let's try. Let's see how many images come up. Right now we've got 56 images that were being loaded before I integrated the change paths method. And now we've got 49. Oh my god! Shit are working! Everything that I was saying about I thought that I could store images in a way in the reference and I wouldn't have to, and it's working. It's fucking working. Yeah! I thought it wasn't working and it was all because of that, but it is working. Python supports this reference concept that I, had from the beginning. So, look, PyImage4 is checked mouse over, checked mo.png, then we get to the next image, which is a duplicate of that one, and instead of writing it again, we just reference our way back to PyImage4, and then we don't bother storing it again. It fucking works. My whole concept that I thought was like, I did all that work, and then it turns out I'll have to do something a lot deeper in order to make it happen. I didn't. It fucking worked. Yeah! Now, here's a question. Why did we jump from PyImage6 to PyImage10? You know what? Not going to worry about it. Because it's actually working. There's another duplicate that came in, so it just referenced the image that we'd already pulled in. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. So we're down to 49 images from the 56 that we were loading before. What big difference does that make? It doesn't, but it's like, it's good. It's the way that it should be. And it also justifies all this bullshit code that I wrote. I wrote a lot of bullshit code in here. You guys. So the change paths thing, the way that it works is you hand in the images that you would normally hand in. Jumped from like 19 to 30 something too. Really did it. Yeah, it went from 19 to 38. So let's look at where, okay, let's look at where these jumps are. So we do checked, and then we do unchecked, and then we get to X. So let's look in the actual program here, what's going on. So where am I loading in checkboxes? So these will be the checkboxes for the...
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team.
These will be the checkboxes for the settings window, actually, is the first thing that gets called. So those will be those three things getting loaded in first and foremost. So we get the checked, and then we get the unchecked state, and boom, we're done with that. And then we get on to x.png, it'll be the first one that gets loaded. So here's the settings window stuff being whipped up, and I think it ends there. And then we place the buttons for closing the skin. So, interessante. Why do we go from checked MO, PyImage 10? Because we get an extra 4 images there. I mean, it doesn't say that those images were ever instantiated, but if the number has changed there, presumably they were. Yeah, I think the reason is because... No, that doesn't make sense, does it? These are happening in the settings window, and then these are happening in the main window. But I mean, it's the same skin, isn't it? Checkbox true, that gets used for those three. And then later on, or rather in the code, like where do I search for checkbox true? So match, 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 match. And then in load patterns, we're also using checkbox true. And load patterns is the one that's doing this, that's laying them out there. So it could be the checkbox true call that gets made for the checkbox skin usage that's being made here, but like it's already been instantiated. There's no need to load anymore. And the skin is not showing that it's loading anymore. I think it's because... Yes, it's because each object that gets made, when it gets made, it does not have a image associated with it. You can load all this stuff up without having a skin attached, obviously, but each object, if there's no skin provided when it's instantiated, or maybe even if there is during its instantiation, I'll have to look back, but each image makes an invisible, it makes its own image. That is 0 by 0 pixels large, that is just there to be a placeholder so that it doesn't break the code that is expecting an image to exist that doesn't yet. So I am manufacturing 0 by 0 pixel images in each class that should, take up very little memory space. But I am doing that in order to make sure that everything has an image that it can work with. So that's where these things are coming from. Right? 2, 3, 4. So we skip from 6 to 10 there, and we will have generated, like this is the actual creation of the skin, and then we'll generate some images. So from 6, we'll make 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 7, 8, 9. Each of those will have their own image internally, and then we'll start making these guys. Or actually, then we'll start making the X. Well, these are skins now being loaded in, so we do 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19. And then the reason we jump from 19 to 38 is because then we have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we've made 16 things, so 16 plus 19 equals 38, apparently. It's not how that math does, but I'm pretty sure that's where we are, like why things are happening that way, right? Can we actually confirm that? So we load all of these in. We've loaded 19 things into memory, and then it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12 of these, and then that would be 13, 14, 15, 16 new things made. Are there any other images that have been made at that point? I don't think so. Pretty close, though. A couple more somethings in there. Yeah, 16 plus 19 is 35, and then there's 3 more somethings that have been made. And I don't know what they are. Somethings that are, you know, they're in my class. The background itself, maybe? Like, what starts being loaded in here? Yeah, okay, so this would be a member of the class, this whole thing. So there's 36, all right? Do I generate the scroll thing before I instantiate the skin? I do. So, actually, here's the file label, the FPS label. No, those are just labels. Last thing we did is config button. So we're at 36 right now, counting this big window. The fact that I've made scroll test, scrollable pane, maybe the whole big window itself doesn't get one. It probably, no, it doesn't. It's a backgroundable, so that wouldn't get one. But the bars would. So we're at 35, and then we go 36, 37, 38, and 39 for the ones that are off screen. And that's how we jump from 19 to 38. Shit, I've got one extra. So we go 19 to 38 plus 16 objects, which is 35, right? 16 plus 19 is 35, and then I've got 3 objects until I hit 38. But I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Maybe it's 1, 2, and 3 at that point. Maybe only one of these things gets generated. I don't know. But that's what's going on. That's why there's a jump in this, in our count there. And it'd be cool if we could do without that. And maybe we can, if we have a single placeholder image for everything. What if we had that? A single placeholder image that each member of the class pulls off of when it hasn't been skinned yet. So if we go up to, where's hoverable going to be? There's windowable, so quite a bit down from there. Hoverable will be the first one that has this, and based on it having it, all the others will have as well. So here's what happens with hoverable. If you don't hand in a skinnable, so if skinnable is none, which will be down here, then self.skin equals skinnable. You generate a skinnable. And a skinnable itself that has been instantiated with nothing, okay, will generate a photo image. It will make that 0 by 0 photo image to fill the gap so that it continues to, so that it like covers all of the bases of what could possibly be expected. So if you make a photo image that doesn't have a skin linkage to it immediately, then you're going to get yourself an extra photo image made. That said, when I call these in from out here, don't I initiate them all with the skin that I've already generated for them? I do. So why do I end up with an extra image? Because if it's already got one, then it won't need to gen one. Down in hoverable, if I have told you what the skinnable is, and the skinnable is not none, then self.skin equals none, self.skin skinnable, and then you'll set skin, if self.skin is not none, self.skin unbind widget in case there's a binding, and then skinnable bind widget, and then self.skin equals skinnable. So this never gets made because there's already one if we've handed one in, and we have. So where am I picking up the extra image there on each and every item? Because everything here is a descendant of a hoverable. So what happens here defines what happens for everyone else unless I've overrode it. You really only need to get to 37 because 38 isn't missing. So I only need 2 more out. That's right. So 35 to 36, 37. So 2 more. Curious. I mean, everything works, but it is curious why we're getting the amount of extra images that we are when we're manifesting these, when we're instantiating. Does seem to link up pretty, dead-on balls. Pretty balls on dead. And the clickable, yeah, it just inherits all of that stuff. Yeah. Where does it count that number, says On to Edge? This pi image 49. I'm actually just taking the name of the images that have been created out of Tkinter. Tkinter is managing that and creating the images for me. So what I'm doing is reaching into it while I am running a skinnable. So when the skinnable is being, where have I got it? If we just print. When it's checking for duplicates, it will mark, the ones that it finds as a duplicate. And when it's loading an image in, it will give us that image number back. So, actually, could we then, when it's not loading an image, where else would we put one, basically, that we could track? It wouldn't be in the instantiation of the skinnable. Maybe in a hoverable. Because a lot of the classes are going to inherit from a hoverable. So if skinnable is not none, which it should always not none be none not, right? I think we can all agree. I'm kind of curious about this too. Print. Here, like, why isn't that happening? Or why is that happening as often as it is? Now, down there, sure. There's a number of images that are, or a number of objects that are related to the scroll bars that get created with, that get instantiated with empty things. Empty skins. But the closer that we get to the top, like, this is that loading in, and then boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. That's curious. That's quite curious, is what it is. Can I get some information out of there that would allow me to, like, know who you are? For example, if I were to print your skin dot images, so self.skin images, 3. That will give me the images. No. Give me paths. Give me paths instead. I made many methods for just this kind of thing, so that you could debug, so that you could reach in and get extra information out. Skin.paths. Did I throw that away as a thing? I might have thrown that away as a thing. No, I store that, don't I? Paths. Let's just scroll up a bit. Yeah, define paths, return self_paths. So whatever your skin is, give me paths, and then give me, just give me all of it. I don't even need that. Just give me, oh, well, it's a function call. Function. Are you going to get okay with that? Thank you. Give that a try. Alright, toggleable object has no attribute skin. That's fine. It should have worked for something, right? It didn't. Okay, so toggleable has no attribute skin. Because this is the initiation for a hoverable, and it's calling something that hasn't been set in the toggleable class yet. Like, we called the super here, but in the toggleable class, a lot of things had to happen. So the super gets called there. And then, but you should Because it's after it you get. You have to make it first. In fact, just do it outside of this. So one way or another, I'll get an export. Okay, so now we've printed all of those. Let's go back up to the top and see when we start printing them. Well, none. And then here's the X being instantiated. And here's the min being instantiated. So these three represent these three checkboxes. Yeah, they must do. In which case, I could go over here and make it toggleable. Self.checkboxTrue. No, you're being instantiated with it too, you son of a bitch. Why would you make one? Maybe because the checkboxes... the checkbox code is more complicated and it's not, like, it's doing other things. That's probably it. So these are the three checkboxes, and then we see that that actually loaded correctly, and that loaded correctly. It didn't do a not none and make its own thing. This one loaded correctly, this one loaded correctly, and then we got 4 more after the UI cog that get made weirdishly for hoverables. Well, hoverable descendants. I wonder what those 4 are. Because all of my buttons have been instantiated nicely. And then what these 4 would be the scroll bars? Would be the scroll bars. So the scroll bar handle. The Troffable won't have this code, though. It doesn't inherit this code. So you'd get the scroll bar handle, which would be a draggable. So it would have this code. Oh, no, the troughs are holdables, aren't they? Are they? No, you completely rewrote the Troffables? What are Troffables? Ooh. They're backgroundables. Yeah, so they won't have this code. They don't inherit from the same lineage. I don't know what these 4 are. I mean, one of them can be a scroll bar, sure. One of them could be this whole thing, but I think I changed what that is to a backgroundable, so it shouldn't. One of them can be the scroll bar, another one can be the scroll bar, and then there's 2 that I can't account for off the top of my head. And then here's all of the checkboxes being loaded in from over here. Now, why would the checkboxes be instantiated as none? Yeah. Why would the checkboxes be instantiated as none? Because we're using the checkbox true. The checkbox true has been set up as a skinnable ahead of time. The checkbox false there. So each of those is getting one. So it's going to be in the class of the toggleable. So first we do the super, and we are not handing in the skinnables to the super. That's why. So the skinnables come in, and because I need 2 of them to represent the states of a checkbox, I'm just not handing a skinnable to the initialization right now. So if I were to just throw one of them in, just chuck one of them in there, because if it's populated, maybe it'll save us some memory. Not that, this amount of memory actually matters, but, I just chucked one in there. Boom, now those things are populated. They still work. And we are tracking significantly more of the weirdness that's going on here. So yeah, checkboxes being made right there. So we go from 6, and look, we don't skip from 6 to 10 anymore. We've got 6, and then we've got 7 and 8, because we're not generating the extra shit. So 6, and then we generate those 3 things. Now we've just got 7 and 8 images, then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Then we got some bullshit here. I still don't know what the fuck those are. But we skipped from 16 to 35 instead of 16 to 39. right? Wasn't that what we were jumping to? 39 or 38 or something like that? So we saved 3. And then down here to 46, and then we load all those guys up and we're good. Okay, so let's figure out what the fuck these things are then. And then we'll be, you know, solid-ish. Because I can go ahead and chuck one of those skinnables in. Does it just get overwritten? Yes, it does. Self.skins is equal to skinnable 1 skin, and then self.skin is equal to that. So it doesn't hurt me any to shove one in there. It may be some extra, you know, operations, but one of those operations is not create an extra image, so probably it all balances out in the long run. But what are these for in the list? What else is overriding significantly these processes, but that is also an inheritable, it's also a hoverable at its root class. It has to be, because that's where that's where the print is. So the holdable, we pass the skinnable through there. The draggable is a holdable. And we don't even override the initialization there, so yeah, that's fine. The truffable is a backgroundable. So that is not in the, history of, it's not in the same lineage of my everything else. But a scrollable is a holdable. So it's got to be in the scrollables, right? That's the last thing we got left. When we super the scrollable, we're calling the parent, we're giving it a function, we're giving it width and height, but we're not giving it a skin. So after the function is where we would stick the skin in. Problem is, I don't have a skin to give it. I don't have a skin to give it for a scrollable. Because a scrollable takes, double skins. It takes double skins. It takes a scroll skinnable scrolls, So I don't have it at instantiation, but I could, couldn't I? Theoretically. So let's go down to the scrollable paintable. The scroll paintable, or scrollable pane. And when we make our vertical scroll bars, we send it the bar size, the height, the bar size, the bar size. Parent trough, width trough, height trough, trough, white, width trough, trough. So if I were to make it part of the initialization that I could hand it a skin that would come after the handle height, then I could instantiate these with their skins by first manufacturing the skin that's going to go with it. Okay, so let's go back up to the scrollable, the top of it, and add in the scrollable skin as a thing that can be in there. And then, can I get a default value for you? Probably none. And will that break anything? It shouldn't. It's all using the same set of classes. It receives none a lot, or at least it has in the past. So when I call the super here, I would put the skinnable in before I start calling width and height and things like that. This would be the super for your own object, though, which I have no interest in. Like, you're just going to have to be one that generates its own image, because you don't make sense. But when I generate the handles, this is a troughable, this is a draggable. If I've got a scrollable skin in, then I can set those. Troughable just takes width and height. What about the draggable? We'll also take a function, or we'll take a skinnable. So if I set the skinnable to scrollable skin dot. This is for the handle, so it'll be dot handle, I think. If I recall how I wrote this just a couple hours ago. And then the trophable needs to accept more input than that. Yeah, so the trophable should accept a skinnable. Problem is that, like, this is out of the lineage, like I keep saying, the lineage of the hoverable. So anything that the hoverable has already done to make sure that skinnables won't fuck things up, it's, you know, it's not here necessarily. For the trophable, I was just manufacturing one to fill the space in self.skim. So we'll just say if skinnable is not none, then self.skin skin is equal to skinnable. Else, in fact, we can do this in that, you know, jazzy way that I like so much. Self.skin. Fuck. God, PyCharm. I love you when I love you. I hate you when I hate you. Is equal to skinnable. If skinnable is not none, else, it's made into a skinnable. Single line if else statement. Self.skin is equal to skinnable if skinnable is not none. If it is none, else, then make self.skin equal to a skinnable. So now we can accept a skinnable here. Yeah, there's no typo there, eat shit. So back down here, where we're instantiating the trophable, we can now insert the scrollable skin dot trough. Yeah, I think that's going to work. It's a deep reference, so PyCharm can't even keep up with it. But we're also going to need to handle the instance that the scrollable skin is none, which means if we don't hand one in, then we're going to have to do the old, what I just did up there, which would be self.skin. Do you end up with a self.skin? I mean, as a holdable, you have one. You're going to instantiate without one. If I put you in there, do you break something? Because the super is going to call the holdable class, which is a descendant of hoverable. So it's going to generate, because I'm not handing it a scroll like a skinnable, it's going to generate an extra image. I think I might cause more problems by shoving one in there willy-nilly. Because a scrollable skin is not meant to... I mean, it's just two skins, but then I'll be skinning the actual area that holds the thing, and that's not what I want to be doing. So I'm going to say new to you. And after you've gone through your thing, and it will have initialized its own skin, but now I'm just going to overwrite it. Right? Why not? It's a good namespace to hold this in. Because it's a scrollable skin. And it's a different kind of a skin. Yeah. Alright, so let's just do it this way. If scrollable skin is not none, But we're going to do scrollable skin. No. If scrollable skin is not none, or rather is none, then scrollable skin is equal to a scrollable skin. We're going to generate one out of nothing. And then set skin is going to override the skin class. Alright, so it's already working that way. Then I can do what I was going to do, which was I was going to do self.skin is equal to scrollable skin if scrollable skin is not none, else scrollable skin is equal to a new blank scrollable skin. You have a problem with that? You do seem to. Self.skin is equal to scrollable skin if else there, scrollable skin. You have a problem with this? What? You need all of those parameters defined in order to make a scrollable skin? I don't support instantiation without population on the scrollable skin class. Because I do most everywhere else. Yeah, I don't. So to make a scrollable skin, if I handed you none, 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 what would happen? Bar skin, it would be none, none there, and then the bar skin its defaults to none and none. So it shouldn't wreck anything to do that. Yeah. So we'll just say that you are instantiatable, even without having to declare all of these things. You can be instantiated empty. Cap. So it's supposed to be NVR mind? NVR mind? What are you talking about, On Edge? What's an NVR mind? It's supposed to be? Never mind. What was supposed to be? NVR mind. Never mind. What was supposed to be what? Yeah, so that should allow it to be instantiated, which shouldn't break anything. I meant the caps was supposed to be there. Lol, caps? Caps lock? What kind of caps? Bottle caps? What is? You've been playing Fallout 4 again? I told you to stop doing that. I thought that was the problem. I don't know what the problem is. There's no problem. We're just coding. Yeah, I don't know. Just start it up and see what breaks. So, in line 531, none type has no attribute trough, troughable self trough, scrollable skin trough. What are we looking at? Line 531. Take me home, country road, to the place I belong, here's Virginia. So trough width, trough height, scrollable skin dot trough. So scrollable skin does not have a trough thing. We know that scrollable skin is being loaded up correctly. What does scrollable skin actually have within it for me being able to reference it? Where are you? Scrollable pane? Nope. I need the scrollable skin. Self.troughs. Plural. Plural. That's all it is. So back to you. So troughs. And that's going to mean that when I go to do this one too, scrollable skin.handles is what you're going to need apparently. And also that's breaking the line, which is bad. Don't do that. None type object has no attribute troughs. What, you still have a problem with that? You think it's a none type object? Troughable. Self.trough equals troughable on line 531, which is still this line. Troughable is not the none type object. Trough width, trough height, scrollable skin.troughs. But scrollable... because I've instantiated it to be self.skin. There you go. There you go. I got myself a nice 3rd place in any percent today. Oh, congratulations. Damn, running with the Snakeathons and the AJs? Bump it. Bump. Good work, Flaxy. Now another none type object error, but now on line 534 because I'm doing the same thing. Self.skin. I've assigned it to skin from there. Now go. Okay, it at least loaded up with errors, and the scroll bars didn't do any of the things they're supposed to, but we loaded up. So what's the... is it just one error? No, it's the same error a million times. Okay, that's usually how it goes. So this is going to be on line 337 in disable. Self.createImage00 image equals self.skin underscore in skin images 3 for the disable. Scrollable skin object has no attribute images. How do we end up with a scrollable skin object that doesn't have images? The skin here is set to that. Ah, now we might be back to where I'm instantiating it. So back out to here. When I am creating the scroll test, the scroll planeable here, if I had already made this thing, this is the idea. So I've now got a scroll pane skin ready to go, and then if I hand the scroll pane, that's for the pane. You've been working on the trophable, haven't you? No, I've been working on the scroll pane. I don't know what I've been working on. It's railroad. All the live long day. What do you take for qualifiers? Width, height, bar size, scroll bars. No. So I need to add that also to the scrollable pane instantiation. Now I could instantiate a scrollable. Aha. So yeah, I need to go back down to the scrollable pane where we actually are instantiating the scrollables and call them with it. It shouldn't fail if it's not provided with one, though, the way that it has. The way that it dizzles. Why would it... is it change on that? My attribute images. 0. So that's an interesting failure that I gotta remember to address after I probably fix this right here for the one instance. So what are you doing? When we create the V-scroll, we can put the scrollable skin in, which means we would have to hand it through the scrollable pane class. Just trying to decide where to, like, stick it in here. Scroll. Scrollable pane skin equals none. I'm gonna have more than that on the second line. No, I'm not. And why don't you like it? Scrollable pane skin equals none with a comma. There. Okay, you just had to catch up to it. So now that we've got that in, I'll have to add to this the idea that you can have that put in at initialization, which would be somewhere down here, I suppose. I think I'm just going to go for self.skin. I don't know if I'm using that anywhere. I don't think I am. In fact, I could just call that setSkin class that I've made. Oh, I might be able to do that up above too. If I were to wrap it in a if scrollable pane skin is not none, then do that. Yeah, and then up here, I can just give it a call, self.getSkin. What? Why you don't think that exists? It does. Hello? Okay. Scrollable pane skin. Set skin, not get skin. There you go. Set skin, scrollable pane skin. Good. I'll take out that extra line there, too. Tuck it in. Tuck it back. Tuck it in. Let me begin. I came to win. Battle me. That's a sin. But that actually will happen after instantiation? Yeah. Okay. So no. That's not going to help me, because that's going to happen... Like, right now it's going to happen before it instantiates, and I can't have that because the V-scroll that it's going to be referencing doesn't exist yet. When I realized that, I was like, okay, I'll have to move it down then, and then I realized, oh, well, it's going to happen after instantiations. It's not going to prevent you from generating unnecessary images if you do it that way. Right. So, if scrollable pane skin is not none, well, we can do the whole thing again, can't we? Self.skin is equal to scrollable pane skin if scrollable pane skin is not none, else it's equal to a scrollable pane skin. New one, instantiated. Hopefully you can instantiate one of those without needing, you know, a bunch of shit. No, you can't. Alright, now down to the scrollable pane skin. Can you support the idea of things being none? I'm going to assume that you can, because you're a nest of a nest of a nest, and I wrote things pretty well in terms of them all being able to account for not having input information. Lol, this is on it. Yeah, lol. Running against the AJs in this world. From Saved by the Bell. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that guy was a dick. Scrollable pane skin. Alright, so we're still getting, like, those errors, which is all well and good. The last thing that I need to do, though, like, everything's still loaded up, so the last thing that I need to do is shove you in, right? To the V-scroll, to the initialization, which will be, for the scrollable skin, I can now hand in the self.skin dot V-scroll. No. Self.skin.vskin. Yeah. I'm realizing that I have another issue. Self.skin.hskin. Which is the bindings won't happen. Okay. Scroll up and see that we've only loaded 28 images. Huh? At least that's the last place that we counted any, was 28. That's gotten better, hasn't it? From how many we had before? Wasn't it 35 before? Based on that, and then these are all, you know, instantiation of things that, yeah, they're being instantiated. What do you want from me? And then these are all the checkboxes, but there's no added images created for that, so we're down to 28 images being loaded in. But yeah, so if I do this, and I instantiate with the scrollable, then these bindings won't be made, the bind scrollable. I won't be binding it to the thing that it's being set to. Self.skin equals scrollable pane skin if... I might have to break this lovely little one-line if-else statement because I might need to add extra things in. Basically, if the scrollable pane skin is not none, then self.skin scrollable pane skin and self... It won't bind like that, though. Bind like that, though. Aha. So we'll do that, and then as an extra call, self.vscroll dot. What have we got? I'm getting really confused now. Really confused. I could just access its skin directly, which is, horrible because I've marked it as a private variable, but maybe I won't have it be private. It's a private thing. vscroll.skin, because I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Skin dot bind scrollable. And it would be to the self dot vscroll. See, so basically I'm doing the things that are happening down here, I'm putting them into the initialization so that if you do happen to hand in a fully made scrollable pane skin up front, then it can skip the set skin part of the process. Or at least it will, even if it does it, like, again later for redundancy, or if there's a redundancy or something like that, what it won't do is manufacture unnecessary image spaces. I think is why we started this. Is that why I forget why we started this at this point. So we need to do the same thing for the horizontal scroll. Yes. What do you access to a protected member? I know, I'm dipping into underscore skin and I shouldn't be. I do the same thing here though, so you should have complained earlier. Go ahead. Alright, so they're still not working, but like that's the same error that we've had before, so good. It seems to be like this seems to be a thing that's happening. And we are at 28 images still. 28 images loaded. Just 28 total, which is lovely, I suppose. Some of this just seems ridiculously unnecessary. This is going to have to be cleaned up. I get on the live stream and then I will sit here for hours and just think about my next move, and not hours, sometimes hours. Not often hours, but I'll sit about if I did it that way, that would be inefficient. That's too many lines of code. I'll make it elegant in my mind before I even try and make it happen. I come on the live stream and I just start, throwing wet everything against the walls until something sticks. You guys are the worst thing for my library, I'll tell you that right now. It's you being here. So... yeah, now we just address this issue, which is the idea that scrollable skin object has no attribute images. Okay, so a scrollable skin that's true doesn't have an attribute images. Because a scrollable skin contains two skins. So it doesn't generate its own, it's sort of a pass-through for two others that actually are skinnables and do contain the images. So what is it that's inheriting those? We're talking about line 326 and mouse out. So what object is it that it's going to be a trophable? Or no, not a trophable. What's it going to be? Is it going to be a trophable? What about a trophable? It's not a trophable one. It's down here, and it's a hoverable, which is what the troughs are. So in trophable at 326, where we're telling it to do that. So it's going to be with the troughs for the scroll bar. They now have like a direct reference to the scrollable skin instead of a reference to the skin that's inside of the scrollable skin for some reason. So back down to scrollables. Yeah, because it's going to be the troughs inside the scrollables. So in the scrollables, we come back to here, and we've got self.skin.troughs being set for the troughs. It might be that. When I set skin, self.skin is equal to scroll skinnable. and then self.trough.setSkin, skin.trough, skin.handle. So I'm okay to set the skin to the scroll skinnable, apparently, just as kind of a storage, namespace storage. Self.skin is equal to scrollable skin, same as it's being done down there. Otherwise, we'll set that same namespace to an empty scrollable skin. The scrollable itself is a holdable. There's your problem. Maybe. Maybe. Which means, no, I can't do this. Like, I shouldn't have been doing this down here in the first place. I don't think. I'm going to do... Tracebacks make things interesting. If it just worked, that'd be pretty boring. That's true. Self.skin.trough. This is actually going to have to be scrollable skin.trough, and I'm not going to be able to store that as self.skin. I don't think. So instead, we just need to, if scrollable skin is none, then scrollable skin will be equal to a scrollable skin for the sake of instantiation. And now we will replace all these self.skins, because that's not going to be a thing that we're using for the scroll bars themselves, with the local passed-in variable, and then we run it. And then it crashes properly. Good, we're making progress. So this is on line 677. Skinnable object has no attribute bind scrollable. Line 677 is called from 102 in the initialization of... the v-scrolls and whatnot. So v-scroll dot underscore skin bind scrollable. This was where I added that in for initialization? Yes. Now, it's fine for me to use this self.skin there because we're talking about a scrollable canvas, and a scrollable canvas is a backgroundable, and basically a backgroundable doesn't have a skin, so I might as well call it a skin. It doesn't matter. It's just a new, stored space here. That's not going to interfere with anything. Probably. Bind scrollable, though, and you're saying that this skinnable object that I've just passed you, which is the vscroll dot skin dot bind scrollable. And the vscrolls dot skin is equal to skin dot vskin. You're right, there isn't a bind scrollable with that. Or are you? You're saying it's a skinnable. Skinnables don't have bind scrollables. What do is scrollables. So scrollable pane skin dot vskin. I'm calling that binding in the wrong direction here, aren't I? Like, I need the vscroll skin dot bind scrollable. The vscroll skin shouldn't be the vertical scroll. I'm handing it the wrong kind of shit, is what's going on here. So self.skin.vskin, no. I think it's just self.skin. No, that would be right. It would be the vertical skin, because you're handing in 2 of them from a scroll pane skin object. So you would set it to the vertical skin and the horizontal skin. And then once you've got that set, which you will, because you've just instantiated with that, you should have anyway. Then when I call your skin, self vscroll.skin, how about if I just call it directly like this? Self.skin dot vskin dot bind scrollable. There we go. There we go. I'm just accessing it in a weird way. So instead of embedding it through and then calling it back, and then self, yep, just like that. I hate typing the word self. I hate it. Self.skin.hskin dot bind scrollable. Yeah, just like that. Okay, do that. It started up, and everything works again. Okay, and how many images got loaded? 28 images, just like we were kind of going for, sort of, I guess. We do still have some none images being loaded up after, what is this? Scroll active cap red. So this is actually all of the images for the scroll bars being loaded in. Yeah, and then after those, we get 4 of these none objects that I'm still not sure what they are, but I'm sure that they need to be there. And I think I'm happy and don't even want to go tracing them, tracking them down. Like, I kind of theoretically try and figure it out, but because those 4 objects are going to be what? We'll look at it like this. This all happens after this, because that's this stuff coming in. capred.png, so boom, after that. Scroll pane skin equals scrollable pane skin with trough mids, trough caps, scroll mids, scroll caps. So that's probably it right there. The scroll pane skin, okay, just going to be way down here. The scroll pane skin, that's from where you printed to check. Yes. And the scroll pane skin down here is going to make a scrollable skin object. Trough mids, trough caps, handle caps. So it instantiates the 2 of those using those qualities. The redraw, the bind scrollables. No? No, okay, so that's a scrollable skin. Now, the scrollable skin makes a... Yeah, it makes empty bar skins to start. Doesn't it? I mean, but it's putting the things into them. It makes those up with 0, 0 pixels. But I mean, it's handing across paths. It is handing through paths. So those are not empty things. Shit. So they're calling bar skins. What about bar skins? What do? You take if mid skinnable is none, mid skinnable equals skinnable, if end skinnable is none, end skinnable equals skinnable. So if we asked a bar skin to be made that didn't have any of the things attached to it, then we would make 2 empties that would come up as none, 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 none. Yeah, we would make 2 empty skins if we were doing that, but we're not doing that here from where we're calling bar skin in scrollable skin. That's not happening. We're passing through the trough mids and the trough caps, so the mids and the end skinnable will be, a thing. They'll be populated, so this won't happen, and instead we will simply call this on our nuns, yeah. And then the next thing is the scrollable pane class. I don't know where those are coming from. The 4 that get made that have nothing in them. we're going to assume it's not the scroll pane class, then what would be next? We'd make the, or at least the scrollable skin, we would make the scrollable pane itself. Maybe that's it. Well, that's what you were looking at. You can hand in the scrollable pane skin, but am I? I'm not. Scroll test, scrollable pane, and I didn't hand it in. Aha! Scroll pane skin. Go. And now we have we still have 4 non-options. Shit! So there's 28 images, but I thought that would do it. If I do that, though, I should be able to not do this, and everything should work, right? Because this is the set skin to the scroll pane skin, but I don't need to do that. Yeah. So that's cool. It now has the ability to all in one line, you can just, boom, get a scroll pane going with the skin if you've pre-prepared it, or you can do it after the fact as well, which is the, kind of like thing that I'm going for in terms of supporting multiple entry points, and the ability, like all these classes I've written have the ability for you to do stuff like unload linkages, reload the images in, swap things out, update everything after you've already populated it once before, populate it again, then force an update so that all the, I'm doing all that stuff so you can come in at a whole bunch of different angles. Still have not figured out where the fuck these 4 nuns are coming from. What is being made that is in the 4 nuns? If I hashtag all y'all out. Oh god. There's more things that get attached to the scroll test, so if I just kill it like that, it's just not gonna... like this sends things to it, and, configs and whatnot. Yeah. So, I mean, we know that it's after this, so it's gotta be something to do with scroll bars, the scroll pane skin. And I just kind of traced all those, and I have no idea where these 4 non-populated instantiations come up in this process. If I take that out, and I take that out, and we see if it's still there. Yeah, they're still there. So it's got to be in the scroll pane, it's not in the scroll skin, because those 4 still exist. Okay. Okay. So it's in the instantiation of the scroll pane. Gotta be. And here we are, in the scroll pane. We're handing the skin directly in. Scrollable pane skin. Self.skin equals scrollable pane skin if scrollable pane skin is not none else scrollable pane skin. So we are avoiding, creating that because we are handing it in directly now. Then where's the next place that I use scrollable pane skin? Nowhere. Well, there's your problem. I didn't actually put it in. I went back to, task and put all this in, and then we got to this point, and I did not actually bind the fucking scrollable pane skin stuff. No, I did, because it's being loaded into self.skin, you get. Yeah. So it's all loaded into self.skin at that point, and then here's all the references that we're looking for. I thought, Jesus Christ, it's been a long... Alright, so, scrollable, we use the skin.vskin, and then the skin.vskin binds scrollable, skin.hskin, skin.hskin. Do we call set skin at some point inside here? We don't. I have no explanation for those 4. I don't know where they're coming from. Maybe we can tap in with, more information from our print statement, which will be coming in from whither? Is it you? Images, and then image path. No, it's not you, and it's not you. It's you. During the hoverable. So you're doing skin paths. What else could you print at that time that might give me some information about what you are? Print self. See what self is. They come from the local convent. That's where the nuns come from. Okay. So it's a scrollable in the scrollable pane, and then this is the draggable, canvasable, trophable, scrollable pane, and this is a scrollable too. And then the trophable, canvasable. So the scrollable, which is the place for the scroll bar, the empty space for the scroll bar. And then this is the handle for the scroll bar. This would be like the trough. Wait, if that's the trough, and then there's the canvas, and then the draggable, the handle gets attached to it. So for some reason, this is really weird, because I would expect to see, you know, if the draggable wasn't being instantiated, then I would expect to see that the trophable isn't being instantiated. But the trophable is a backgroundable. I know I'm talking in loops here, but a backgroundable is not a descendant of hoverable, so we wouldn't see complaints from, you know, we wouldn't see that output here. So it's both the scrollable and the draggable. So the scroll bar itself and the handle, and that is happening precisely because those skins, those classes override the base skin class. Now I know. Now I understand. Go down to the scrollable shit. So here's the scrollable. When we bring in the scrollable skin does not act on the scrollable, like the whole area that contains the trough and the handlebar. It's a holdable, so it has its own skin. It has room for its own skin. In fact, if I wanted to override that, what I would do, what would you do? What I would do is I would set it to the troughs, probably. So if when we instantiate, if I passed it, okay, so there's the function. So if I passed it the scrollable skin dot, well, I've got it in the clipboard, don't I? Dot troughs. Now that will take care of that one, or cause massive errors and everything will explode. Okay, so one of those things was going to happen. But no, it's fine, though. It's fine. Like, now that I understand where it's coming from, yeah. Like, it should fail that way, and it's because I'm just not using the skinnable space of the holdable anymore. Because a scrollable takes, you know, it creates two objects, the trough. It creates the trough, and then it puts the handle into the trough, and then we use the scrollable skin, which has two attributes to skin, the troughable and the handle, which is a draggable. So we're not actually skinning the trough or the scroll space itself. That said, as I'm saying that, you know, the question does come up in my mind, couldn't you turn the scrollable into the troughable? Like the base of the scrollable into the troughable, instead of the scrollable being a holdable? What if the scrollable was a troughable, and then you got rid of the trough? That is a huge undertaking. Just because of the size and complexity of this class, I mean, it could be as simple as that, and then changing a couple of things over. But I doubt it. What is it that you want when I initiate when I initialize a troughable? What's the super for a troughable? Width, height, skinnable. So there's no function for a troughable, which would make sense. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually attack that. we're going to actually come in at the idea of, can I make my scrollable class not be a holdable? It was a holdable before because I think I did that because in early development I wanted to inherit the methods of mouse over and click and the way that that binds and all of those like bindings that watch for mouse events were exactly the way that I wanted them to work in the scroll bar and the whole scrollable class. So I just said, well, I'll make it a holdable and then I'll get all of those, qualities. Since then it's gotten, the library's gotten a lot more complex, and I'm pretty sure the trophable now has all of the same qualities of the holdable, even though it's been built on like a different lineage line than the fuck's it called? Hoverable. It all becomes a hoverable, or it all started at hoverable basically. So I think it could just be a trophable. It does mean that I'll have to change a whole bunch of shit, potentially. And the idea that you'll be able to reference the scrollable directly as a trough or a handle, these are all considerations to make. And we will make those considerations after this live stream break, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a 7-minute live stream break, and when I come back, we will look very closely at that, because now that I'm sitting here staring at it, the idea of the scrollable being a holdable is stupid, because the scrollable itself is the whole space that the scroll bar exists in. It's the trough and the handle, and it doesn't... In what way is that a holdable? In what way is that a button that you can press and then it continues to fire events? Now, the trough itself, or the trophable, that is exactly that, but the space into which all of that is held doesn't make any sense for it to be that way anymore. So let's see if we can change it without basically breaking everything that I've coded over the course of the past 2 weeks. That's going to be the goal. After the 7-minute live stream break, stick with me, don't go anywhere, more code ahead. Pawn not out. Hello, I am the Ronan Pawn, and welcome back to a twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn live stream on twitch.tv. I got myself another beer. And we're coding, as we do these days. Hello, RMAJ, I see you there. Let's see. Have you used a lot of different IDEs and settled eventually on PyCharm, or is it that just the one you've always used? Just curious if you think it's objectively the best, or if it's just comfortable for you. I hadn't programmed, you can shut up, by the way, just you. I hadn't programmed in Python at all until I started this little project. And, I just picked up PyCharm because that was the one that, you know, they said use PyCharm. So I picked it up, and I'm actually pretty happy with it. I mean, it's incredible the amount of shit that this IDE does and monitors and can make sense of, and it's really sort of chugging now because I've got so many things that are inheriting one thing from another thing from another thing from another thing. But the fact that PyCharm can even like figure all that stuff out and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, you know, when we're talking about like a pushable that inherits from a clickable that inherits from a hoverable that, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And then it goes, you know, based on that. And it does get in my way in a couple of little instances, but I'm very happy with it. It's really like approachable. I first got in here without any knowledge of what this was going to be. I was able to just start coding and, you know, get going, and it worked. It just worked. There's a lot of little this and that's, but they're reasonable this and that's that pop up the more you use it and the deeper you go.
WNAP
Sure. Great job, Pawn. Backwards, thank you, Tremasian. We could put that into the quote engine and then ask it to give it a negative number. In fact, so let's see what quote 31 is. Tap that D, tappy tappy on that D, and then if we quoted negative 31, we'd have yip yap with or you sniff up Ronan Pawn. That's Noah's work, not mine. I suggest one day, wouldn't it be neat if you could do like a negative number and then it would reverse the code, and then I go on and like 15 minutes later or less, he's like, that's in now, give it a try. Like, what? Noah makes the bot for us. But yeah, I think PyCharm's very good. Very good at what it does. It does get in my way in little places, but they're reasonable places. And since we're talking about reasonable places for things to be a little bit askew or to get in your way a little bit, I wanted to talk about this anyway, so tangentially, the references that I'm making when I'm deep writing to skin, which is supposed to be a private, you know, variable, supposed to be a private variable to these classes, and I'm writing to them, you know, outside of the class. I was thinking about that during the live stream break, and I think that's like a reason. It's bad form, but I think it's a sensible bad form. I think it's the right bad form, because like what I want is a private variable that someone who's using this library is going to know, oh, that's a private variable, I shouldn't be writing directly to it, because you shouldn't be. But my classes, when they need to communicate within each other and set each other's things, this is just like the most sensible way for me to do that. If I try on just the merits of, well, it's bad form, I should get rid of that, it's going to take a lot of work to simulate, you know, access to a variable that I don't want you to update directly, because I have methods for you to update that will check things and make sure that they're going to work before it happens. That is going to work because, you know, these are the classes that I wrote. So, like, I thought about I could nest skin as a private class and then make a public skin class and then have the public skin class call the methods for, you know, setting the skin. But that means that when I'm calling them here where I do want to set them just directly, I just want to make it, you know, what I've already got. I want to take a skin that I've prepared and shove it in there. That's what I want to do. So then what? I got to create like a public function that checks to see what kind of thing is coming in order to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I should just access the private variable directly like this while also communicating to someone who's using the library, don't do what I do, kids. Don't do that way. Or at least don't do it unless you know what you're doing. So I think I'm just going to stick with that. The bot breaks if you try a negative quote that does not exist. Oh, does it? Did you kill the bot? Did you kill the bot? Wisdom. You killed the bot. I just had to start it up before the live stream. That's a bug. You know what? We've got a form for that. Noah's got a form for, like, reporting bugs in the thing. If someone could, you know, do that. You know what? I'll just keep my credentials for getting into the server off screen for a second. There's Notepad++ where I store the credentials so I can get access to them. Pull you off screen as well. Because it's, you know, one of those things that I don't know what the... So it's, the password is ridiculous. Are we in? We're in. Okay. And then if I CD into NoBut, in fact, since I just did this, if I just mouse up a couple of times, CD into NoBut, and then npm start. Wisdom. And he's back. Please don't break it again. I don't want to have to do that again. I'll keep the window open since you guys are awful. But, yeah. I thought what I'd do was I'd pretend I was one of those deaf mutes. That way I wouldn't have to have any goddamn stupid, useless conversations with anybody. A catcher in the rye is where that's from. Okay, ladies. So, I won't. I'm sorry, Pawn. It's okay, RMAJ. I didn't know that was a bug in there, but, boy, there's a place to report the bugs, and Noah's gonna hate me for me saying I don't know where you report the bugs for that. Actually, let me pull that up and share it with you guys, because he would love to get in a bug report, I think, across. He's spent a lot of time setting this stuff up so that you can report bugs and stuff. So, if I just go over to, in fact, it'll be under my GitHub, won't it? If I pull you up, I don't think I'm doing anything evil by showing my GitHub. So under Content Creator Suite NoBut? Yeah. 5 commits, 1 branch, 0 releases. Is this the private one, though? Because I see that there's no, like, issue reporting on this. It's the private repo. End screen, public, end screen, overlay. NoBut public. NoBut public. And then issues there. So I believe... Yeah, I believe that's the one. If I put it here... And RMAJ, if you would, you'll make Noah very happy, I think, to receive a issue on NoBot through the Issues tab, which will be up here on the screen. When you land here, go to Issues, and then you can click New Issue, and then choose whether it's a bug report. A feature request is it is a bug report, so click on Bug Report, and then fill this in with the stuff, and he set all this stuff up so that you'll be able to, like, report bugs and things. So I think it'll be like a neat little, ooh, I got a bug report. And he'll know that I shared the information with you, which will give me, you know, it'll make him think that I know what's going on around here. I could do it for you right now myself, but I don't want to. I think it'll be cooler if you send it in, you know? It'll be like, oh, it's serious, it's professional. Wait, what? Looks up from phone. Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, do that. Do that. Go to the page and click on the issues at the top and then start a new issue, and he's still not going to fix it. But he'll be so happy to have seen that somebody complained. That's all we're going for here. Put in there, Pawn told me on a live stream to do it. Just let him know that I actually shared the information with you. So, yeah. what we were about to do was try and make scrollable not a holdable anymore, because it seems stupid for it to be as such. So let's just one more time look at the program when it's running, because that day may just end. In fact, I'm going to copy the code over to testing 3, which is where I've been dropping little copies of things, like, so that when I go at something big where I might break everything and not know how to back out of it, you can, another really cool feature of PyCharm, by the way, if you haven't used it before, is you can go to your local history and pull up all of the changes that you've made to a file within a certain, I don't know, maybe it goes back forever. But you can go back to any place, like at 1:22 p.m. today, you know, here's the differences in the code from what it was and what it is, I don't know, but you can, like, go back to these things. You can use this place to be able to see what the changes were that you've made since and go, okay, that's the one that I want. So if you do get in a bind, you can go back to there. I just copy and paste it over because it's way easier to not have to not have to go digging through that history and find what you know, the place where you hadn't fucked everything up. So we were going to change scrollable into a trophable, because the scrollable contains the trough anyway, so it might as well be the trough that it's going to have to make. That's my thought anyway. We'll see what problems arise as we go down that hole. So first off, when I am calling the parent, which will be the trophable now, it wants the parent, the width, the height, and the skinnable, which means immediately I don't need this lambda none, which is where I was sending in a function. That's where a function would have gone in the old class that it was inheriting for no good reason. We don't need that. We never needed it in the first place. Now it's just down to width and height, and then it can pass in a skinnable for the trough, which we actually can do, I think. Yeah, as long as we instantiate the parent class, the trophable, after we do the scrollable skin thing, then we should actually be able to just call the scrollable skin dot hskin. Scrollable skin dot, no, it would be the troughs. It's troughs. Yeah. Yeah. That should be it. Why do you hate me so? What's your problem? Positional argument after keyword argument. Ah, width and height. Right, so they're no longer quarks either, which makes more sense. Boom, so there's our super now, and because we're now calling that and instantiating that, we don't need to do this. Right? No, we don't. Oh, these 4 nuns are coming from the fact that every time I instantiated it, I was creating an empty bar skin. I was creating an empty bar skin. Do I need to? To fill it. If there's nothing there, no, because we create a scrollable skin, an empty scrollable skin. So we don't need that, we don't need that. We just figured out where those 4 nuns were coming from. And we can send them back to the convent now. So those didn't need to be there, and I was creating 2, so that, yeah, that's it. That's exactly where those 4 nuns were coming from. Cool. So yeah, we'll just initialize the trophable as the trough, which, since we have, means that we don't have to do this. Because we are now the trough. We are the trough. Which also means that we don't call the enable or disable on the trough, we would call it on ourselves. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Do that first and then enable the other thing, sure. And then the linked, and then our super.enable. In fact, that would mean that we don't need to do the super. Well, that would be an infinite loop right there, because we'd be calling it ourselves. So yeah, we do that, and then we do the super. If not self-enabled, then do the super and then do us and then the other thing. Yeah, super is calling to the parent. Whenever you see super in there, it's calling to the class that it inherited from. What's your problem with self.trough? Well, because no, it's us, self.inner. Wherever there's the word trough now, we just need to get rid of it, basically, in this whole code, because we are the trough. I am the trough. Hello, Adam Boudoir. Ooh, sexy. We're going into the boudoir. Let's see. I've never used it. I have very little experience with Python. It seems pretty intuitive, though, so I was looking at learning it. Yeah, it is. I really like this programming language. I hadn't started programming in it in about a month, until like about a month and a half ago, and I like all of the things that it's doing. A lot of, it's just simplified and gotten rid of a bunch of faff that didn't need to be there. And it's also added a couple of those things that I usually complain about, like coding conventions that just aren't what you used to see, ways of referencing like slices to arrays and things that are very confusing the first time you see them, that I usually just like, you could have just written this and everyone could have read it. That, like, I may have been pissed off at it when I didn't understand it, but it was understandable. And once it clicked with me, I was like, yeah, no, do that. That's smart. That's brilliant. Do more of that. So, yeah, I'm very big into Python right now. In fact, one of the things that I'm looking at doing is, I've mentioned the past few live streams, I've got a birthday coming up. And me and my dad are probably going to take a trip out to Micro Center here at some point, because I would like to grab myself probably an Adafruit, which is, think, what is it? Not Raspberry Pi, but... yeah. What are they? Is this all Adafruit stuff? It is. I must have searched for Adafruit. The version of a Raspberry Pi that's a microcontroller, not a microprocessor. It's not a computer, like a Raspberry Pi is. Arduinos, yes, on the edge. But so Adafruits, some of them are built for use with Circuit Python, what they call. So it's Python with some libraries, with a library attached to it that, writes and reads directly to pinouts and things on the Adafruit. And at these prices, it just seems like fun to experiment with. And you can just plug this thing into your computer over a micro USB port and pop open, the software that they distribute with it for you to code in, and get to work and immediately start making LEDs light up and catching, states from switches that you attach to it and things. And I'm thinking, this little USB numpad that I use in order to control the live streams, I could replace one of these with probably one of these, but definitely one of these. Because this one has like 16 GPIOs, general purpose, that's what they are, right? GPIOs, general purpose input-outputs. They can take analog, like on this one, I think you get 3, I think they can all take analog input, actually. Analog or digital input, but they say something about like you get 3 analog inputs, and maybe they mean like 3 pure analog inputs that you can set up, where it's, I don't know. But you get all these different input outputs, you can control them all and send the signals and, test the signals and all that kind of stuff, and just like immediate entry into playing with physical things. And I got on the table out there right now for the electronic drum kit that's a little bit off screen right now that I got over here. I got micro switches that I bought for a project where I'm going to try and make the kick pedals on this really cheap computer-enabled drum kit that I've got better using micro switches. I'm going to have a bunch left over, and I'm thinking, boom, attach those micro switches to some keys, and, I can basically make my own lo-fi version of... who is it that made, it's Elgato, right? Elgato makes the screen capture software, and they also made a little touchscreen device for live streamers where you can do the kind of things that I've set up with this USB numpad and with, software that I got over here, but it's all in one unit. I could build one of those sans the touchscreen, which you could do with an Arduino. You might even be able to do it with an Adafruit. If you put the money out to get the little screen, and the screens are like $20, $30 or something for a touch screen. But yeah, I'm real interested in this. So I want to play with this. I do want to play with the Raspberry Pi as well, because when it comes to this electronic drum kit I keep talking about, this thing has to talk to a computer, and then the computer acts as the brain. It sends MIDI signals over USB to the computer. So if I built a Raspberry Pi and got a VST host running a drum emulator instrument on it, then I can make this little cheap piece of crap USB enabled, computer enabled drum kit into a like thing that can just live on its own and output over the Raspberry Pi's like audio out signal, audio that you could plug into headphones or plug into a set of small speakers and be able to take that thing anywhere, and suddenly it's a portable, it's a full-on electronic drum kit that doesn't need a computer to make it work, because it's got the computer in the form of a Raspberry Pi for 25 or 30 bucks running on it. And as long as the response times are low enough for drumming, which I would think with 1 point some gigahertz of speed, and the Raspberry Pis have their own, the $35 ones, I think, have their own sound chips on them. So I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. Add Bluetooth to it, Sister Mason. Let's see. Oh, wait, RMAJ said, for fuck's sake, GitHub is being and asking me to make an account and saying there's a problem, and the vacation email and another one and somebody else. Does somebody else want to report on to Edge? Would you do the GitHub reporting if I gave you the thing again? Those are pretty expensive too. Looks like fun stuff to mess around. Pretty inexpensive, yeah. Those meaning the Stream Deck things. Yeah, those are, it's way overpriced for what it is. Way overpriced for what it is. I mean, it looks very convenient from afar, but I'll never know if it's very convenient because I'm not going to spend, I think, $200 for a little touchscreen display that, literally most of the functions are replaced by software and a $7 USB numpad extension right there. So verifications is RMAJ. Yes, well, just have it send to your friggin' cell phone and then put in the numbers and then give them sign off on your firstborn and you're in. We all did it. So, back to the code. We're turning you into the trough, which means anywhere there's a trough, I have to take care of that. I have to, get rid of that. So when we go to disable ourselves, we don't need to do that anymore. We just disable the handle, and then we disable ourselves by calling the super. When we set the skin, scroll skinnable is going to come in. You don't like, is there a typo? There's not a typo. You don't know. So now, if I were to self.setSkin scroll skinnable trough, that should do that. Scrollable canvas when we link to. Yeah, you don't like any of this. Instant attribute movement modifier defined outside in it. I do that quite a lot because, if you've called the link to, either the link to gets called in the initialization, which apparently it doesn't, but, if you haven't called it, then none of this is needed. So I'm not going to instantiate all these, properties before they're needed. So self.linked, scrollable canvas, linked width, linked height, active X, active Y, offset X, offset Y. That all looks good for trough references. Self.trough.inner.bind is going to be just us, and let's check. So inner.bind, button 1. The little plus here means that you can actually stack bindings, so other things can monitor the button 1 of this. It gets really complicated. I still don't understand which end of things, when you put a plus on the binding, which end actually allows the other to use it. Because I swear it's worked one way in one situation and one way in the other situation, and it's just confused the shit out of me. But it's for whatever, the pluses helped having them here, so now they're here. That should all continue to work. Linked width, winfo height, and width, resize handle, sure. Now in resize handle, we're going to set to the self.winfo width, okay. To you, the self.winfo width, because that's going to be the width of the trough, which is now us. Yes. Yes. For you now, this is a new one. Drawbars. What do you have a problem with drawbars? Unresolved reference to drawbars. I'm gonna assume you're full of shit because I remember there being a place where this was like, that doesn't work, and then, but it did. And that's the first time that I've ever seen PyCharm really not understand what I was doing, and it might be because I'm accessing that private variable there. Yeah, and because I override the kind of skin that's come in. Yep. I think that's why that's that. So we're now the trough. So our skin dot drawbars, sure, and our width and our height, and then update hover of us. Okay. And down here, our width, our height, that after self.init delay. Shit. Hey, buddy. Shit. So I was using features of the pushable class because I'm using the initialized delay in order to make this, like, follow. Fuck. Fuck. Alright, let's just carry on and we'll come back to that, because this is still a good idea. So get local mouse of self.inner for the keep clicking, and for the inner of us, event generate button 1, self.after, self.delay. So the init delay and the delay. I can just reproduce those variables and methods within this class, if that's the only problem with doing this, which it should be so far. So trough height is going to be equal to our height. Trough width is going to be equal to our width, because we're now the trough. We're now the trough. Okay. So that's the first wave of changes that needed mated. For the init delay and the delay, that's going to have to be configurable by the user in the long run, which means adding yet another thing that you can, like, instantiate with the parent, the width, the height, the width of that, the height of that, the scrollable skin, and then blah. But for now, let's set a self.init delay. Is it going to be 2 words? Init delay equal to 400 milliseconds. This is what I've done elsewhere. And then self.delay equal to, yeah, like 150? Is that what the default is for a pushable? 100 and 400. Okay. I could hard code them in right there if I didn't want somebody to be able to change them. Pawn is plotting to take over the world. No, I meant, did I have a stock because I messed up typing words like 3 times in a row? Did you have a stock? A stroke. A stroke. Did you have a stroke? What's the test for stroke? Can you raise your arms? Okay, raise your arms and see if they feel really heavy. Is one side of your face drooping? Is another thing. These are the actual tests for a stroke that you can do. What was the other thing? Something about, like, being able to see or something. You can't see. When you see, like, you can't read or something, but maybe you wouldn't know that you couldn't read. You'd look at it and think that the words were all jumbled, but they aren't. Something like that. Burnt toast. Smell of burnt toast? Is that one of them too? I don't smell burnt toast. Can you read what is on the screen right now, or does it all look like gibberish? I suppose this doesn't help. Okay, try something else. Try something else. So we've now set some init delays and some delays, which means that those 2 complaints that we got from down here are gone. It's just the complaint about drawbars. So that's the first pass. I don't expect this to work. Here we go. Hit! Yeah. Because so many other things reference the trough of a scrollable. So there's going to be a lot more things. And we're going to find those things by searching for dot trough. Now, where it relates to these skins, we're fine with that. The hscroll.trough.configure. We're not okay with that, because the hscroll is going to be a scroll bar. And we've just removed the trough variable because it's not going to be trough anymore. It's just going to be the hscroll directly when you're trying to control the trough. Yes. And when you're doing the handle, then that's a different thing. But when you're doing the hscroll, that's what it's going to be. So then give me the next trough that you find. Under scrollable skin, self.troughs, that's fine. Self.troughs is fine. Scrollable.trough.setSkin, nope. We want to get rid of you there. Next one, equal to self.troughs, that's fine. Self.troughs, that's fine. Okay, back to the top. And I think we just went through all of the places where that came up. And now, still don't expect this to work. Okay, let's actually look at the traceback here. So, self.setSkin scroll skinnable.trough. But you didn't come up like that. Oh, but it's a skinnable. Trough. What's your problem? Bar skin object has no attribute trough. Did I break something? Let's go down to the bar skin. 759. This is the scrollable skin. So 759. Set skins, set troughs, and then 546. Scroll skinnable dot trough. It should be dot troughs there under 546. How did that get broken? All right, line 546. And then bar skin attribute has no attribute troughs. Okay, so the bar skin doesn't. But you're supposed to be a scroll skinnable, not a bar skin. So you're being called from 759, where we're sending through the self.troughs, which would make me think that this should work if I just took that off. Maximum recursion depth exceeded on self.setSkin scroll skinnable because we're calling this. What have I done? Ah, we're calling it on ourselves. That's the thing. When I type fast and thumb the keys, and lately the chat text seems to be lagging in Twitch. Maybe you had a stroke. I reported your bug, says On Edge. Oh, thank you, On Edge. And if there's a way to edit the typos, I refuse to do so. I'm a busy man, damn it. I've got live streams of people typing to watch, where the person live streaming can't speak and the viewers can't type. I'm a very busy man. So if we call the set skin here, then we would need to super this. Right? That's all. Super.setSkin scroll skinnable dot troughs. Bar skin object has no thing. All right, so scroll skinnable just directly. Bar skin object has no dot handle. Okay. This is weird because I just didn't think that it would change all of those things. We're up and running again. We're up and running again as not what it was before. And everything Looks like it's functioning. I mouse over you, I drag you, I mouse over you. You do not change images. Okay, so the trough is no longer changing images. It's no longer updating the image as I mouse over it. So we've got a bug to track down. Cool. Cool.
Great, now take a drink.
For 10 cents, I will drink a beer. Thank you, Jermacy. That's you give in multiple ways. Give money and drink beer. I observe your commands, master. 14,360 bits this week, by the way, Jermacy. 14,360 now. Thanks to the last 10. So, yeah, does that have to do with this? The set skin that's going on here. Super.setSkin, so I'm setting my own skin to the scroll skinnable directly. The handle set skin is also being to the scroll skinnable directly, but the handle's still working, which is quite odd. Well, I mean, you know, it's odd that something is working. Well, if the other one's broken, why would this one? Is it because the Trophable doesn't update? No, Trophable updates. It's got all of these bindings. Is it going to be a binding thing? Where because it's now the Trophable, is it going to be what I was talking about with the pluses and whatnot? If I were to add a plus to the end of all these. Like I was saying, I have no idea which side that the pluses actually need to be on when you want bindings to stack. Because, and this may be the perfect example. Nope, that was not the issue, okay? Okay. Unless it fixes when I unplus this side, and that's how confused I am about this. That is easy. I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't understand because I swear I have done this before where I took the pluses and put them on one side, then put them on the other side. Handle, inner, don't fuck with the handle. The handle's working. It's just the inners. Nope. Okay. Then we'll put that all back, and we'll take these pluses back off of here. So that's not the issue. We are getting a texture for this thing, it's just not updating. So if we've got a binding that's actually working, and we could better observe that if I went and put the scroll bars back in on the horizontal as well. So we'll add that in with a true for horizontal and a false, because it doesn't matter, it's being overridden for the vertical. And then we'll put a fucking comma in there. It's the second time in one live stream I didn't put that comma there. So yeah, we're getting the correct, like, set of images. We're just not getting the update effect. So if we're not getting the update effect, but the linkage is correct, then I would be looking for... what? Where would that happen? I mean, that would happen in the subclass. That would happen in Trophable, where when we mouse out, it's supposed to do a thing. So let's print print moused out. And then let's see, when we mouse out of here, we get nothing. We're not getting anything. Down here we're doing the inner, we're binding to the inner, as opposed to just our top level. I don't think this is going to work, but let's go ahead and try it anyway. In fact, we only need it for testing on the one where we're testing. Nope. Nope. So yes, monitor the inner. That's what worked before. So we're not registering the mouse out event. We're not registering any of the events for this, which is why it's not switching. So why are we not seeing those events? And it would come down to the bindings, typically. Self.enable. my enable. If not self-enabled, then I call it, and I do the super enable. And also when I call the super, it would do the enable, which is why I'm not calling an enable here. Because when I call that, that will enable this stuff. Help Twitch give away the rest of the 15 million in Bleed Purple by using the Bleed Purple Twitch emote. I never looked into what that is, so $15 million set aside for Bleed Purple so that when people cheer to the streamers, an extra 10% goes to them, and it comes off of a $15 million donation. That's cool. Since Amazon took this place over, it's only gotten better. I mean, I can always complain. And here's some things that I could complain about right now, but no. It's gotten way better. I mean, you don't see YouTube doing this kind of shit, do you? You don't see YouTube actually expressing any interest or concern in the fiscal viability of the people who make their fucking content for them. You don't see that, do you? My throat is full of things. So we're not getting the mouse over events at all. And that would come down to, since this is a trophable, right? We're making you the trophable. It would come down to this, these bindings. They're binding to the inner, like they should. The mouse and the mouse out, the clicked the mouse up. And I swear to God, you know, like, we're watching the mouse out in particular right now. We've got a print on our mouse out. On this mouse out, anyway. Right? Yeah, print on mouse out whenever the event comes through. So that's not firing the mouse out at all. And just to double, extra, triple confirm, there is no mouse out added down here anyway. So that wouldn't override or compete with it. It's the events not being captured, specifically, and nothing but the events not being captured. Now, the trophable enables itself when it's done running, when it's done initializing. So, when we initialize the scroll bar as a trophable, when we call super right here, it will do all of those bindings as well. Control F, disable. Sure. Is that the problem? Because this one was disabled. It should be two different instantiations, so it shouldn't be the problem. It's just... we're going to have to add a pass to that, then. For testing. Nope. Nothing there. So that's not the problem. Good. Where's the next disable? It's under the scroll pane class. Under the scroll pane class be getting in the way. Hello. Wait. Things are working. No, it's still this that you were looking for you get. Right, that isn't working. The click is working, though. So it really is just the bindings that are happening under trophable that aren't actually being registered. But the click, the other things that get instantiated in the scroll bar, those happen. Interesting. No, wait, the other one. Tedious. Just to be sure, if I disable both of those, right, you hate that unless I put a pass in there. It's got to have something under it. Yeah, that doesn't have any impact on that, and it shouldn't. I was just you know, checking stupid things because I'm at that point. So back up to the actual scrollable class, or the general area of the scrollable class. It is like the mouse wheel works. The handle binding for moving the canvas works. The button 1 for when we click on this works. When we release, it works. Ooh, we are getting moused out. We are getting moused out when I click. Because when I click, when I release, rather, we're calling the mouse up event. And then the mouse up event is self.clicking equals false, and then self.mouseIn event if self. So this is manually calling it. So all of these bindings are working just fine and can see everything. But these bindings are not. What do you usually do, by the way, when clicked? You would set equal to red and change the image and all of those things. And when I click, it's working. Do you, when clicked, call the super of that? Because it doesn't seem like you do. Where are your bindings? I've lost them. There they are. So you call self.clicked. And when you call self.clicked, you do all those things, but you aren't calling the super. So what is going on here? If self-active X, if self-handle Y, if not self.clicking, then those things... I think at the very bottom of this I'm going to call the super. Oh, I have to send the event through. I'll pass the event along. And then let's see if we get at least the highlighted state. We are, aren't we? Yep. Okay, so we're at least getting the highlighted state now from the override of the clicked event. Have I overridden anything else? The mouse in, the mouse out, resize handle, link to, set skin, disable, enable. Like, here's the thing to consider. The trophable doesn't really exist for any function other than to be a trough inside this. So having, like, the code for it up here and then calling this as a trophable... I want people to be able to build their own scroll bar if they want to. So, yeah. We want that to work. But none of these fucking bindings are working. Not a single goddamned one of them. Not a goddamned single goddamn one of them. Override holodeck safety protocol suggests Jamasian. It could work. Enter, leave, like, why are your bindings not holding? We instantiate you, you call enable. Are you actually firing the enable? Let's print actually enabled. Go. It says it's actually enabled. But the mouse out is not working. And the thing is, I know how I could get that working. The mouse over is working, or the click is working, because now I'm calling it from within the class, from within the trophable class. But all this shit is running. It was called at the instantiation. There it is, actually enabled. We actually enabled ourselves. We sexually actually enabled ourselves. What if I changed the leave and added the plus to it? So now it's just bound, but it's not bound to the inner. No. We should be getting a mouse out event on that, and we're not. We'll get a mouse out event there, but not when I'm just like mousing over and mousing out. Like, monitoring the inner is the correctish thing to do, as far as I know. Maybe trying to call something too many times, says Jamasian? Yeah, like it would overwrite the values, and then they'd die. But the thing is, because that's accurate. But the thing is, we're not calling enter and leave, from within scrollable. We've got these bindings for mouse wheel, configure, button 1, button release. We got configures for other events. What we don't have is, enter and leave. And what I can do is I can just shove the enter and leave in here, and then I know it'll work. But as I'm saying, like, I could just shove that in here, my next thing is to say, why do I even have a Troffable class? And the idea is that people can build their own scroll bar if they wanted to. Yeah, I'm not coming off of that. That has to remain. They could build it, to function the way that they want it to, or some shit, whatever, I don't care. By the way, does that really need to be there? No. Because it will be self.enabled when we get down to there, one would think. Scrollable object has no attribute enabled. Fuck. But we call self.enable. Line 535. If not self.enabled. Oh. Okay.
You can't buy me, hot dog man.
特索马尼德夫洛佩尔斯普罗米斯比格斯恩塔克姆阿维会尤坎特梅克姆沃克洛
Lol. Thank you, Germasian. Like, so many developers promise big things and take them away when you can't make them work. Don't let them build their own. If they want to customize it, make them download skins for $5 a pop, suggests Germasian. So, do I need to do this if not enabled thing when I'm enabling? Self.handle.enable, if self.linked, self.linked to. I don't think any of those are, like, bindings that will ruin something. So, I think they'll just overwrite values that are fine to be overwritten. Scrollable object has no attribute enabled now as being called from line 510, which will be here, the update hover, and then the update hover is calling, it's asking about the enabled state of something while we're enabling it. Are we calling the update hover at 535? Super.enable.
Bleed Purple 20 bonus 2 DLC charge M $15.99 for DLC.
Will do. Will do. So when we go to enable it, wait, 535 for super.enable, and then 476 is the self.enable, and then 529 is the that. Like, I'm looking for, because it's the if widget.enabled, which is in update hover, sure. Line 510 in enable, update hover, of self. So I'm calling it from 510, update hover of self, before I push this. So that'll fix that. Scrollable object has no attribute handle. Wow. Just, that can't be the first. Really? Line 536 in enable, self.handle.enable. Jesus Christ. Alright, 536. Self.handle.enable. Scrollable object has no attribute enable. But the handle isn't a scrollable object, it's a draggable. And it does have an enable, because they all have enable properties. Which is being called by 476 the initialization of you, self.enable, before that's been made. Uh-huh. Like, I know I don't have to be doing this, but here I am doing it. And if I don't initialize myself first, then the inner of me won't exist. So, I've been here before. This is a familiar problem where, like, I can't do this nested enable thing in the override of the enable because it needs to enable the handle, but the enable will be called from the parent class first, but that's before I've actually created a handle to enable. Oh, I've been here before. If we just take it back, and we put it back to there, then it'll start back up. Instead of trying to tear apart the enabled thing and be like, that doesn't need to be there. Apparently it does. It solves a lot of issues. I don't understand why the hover isn't working, and that's where we are right now. Why that hover wouldn't work. Let's take this out of the equation and put it right up in there. Now it works. Now it works, except for now the red isn't... Oh no, it would be. That's the color of being active. Yes, so now the hover is working by putting that up there. So the problem is that when we're calling enable from here, if not self.enabled, so we're already enabled, is the thing. Because we set enabled equal to true up there, and that avoids running this the first time during instantiation. So then once we get to the bottom of this, boom, one line solution. Self.enable. Done. All that time, and that's what we needed. So we enable... Fuck. But we are! We are self.enabled. Print self.enable, because we should have, like, the previous class should have done that. True, shit, there's just too many things being printed at this point. There are, too. Look at, see that? Two of our nuns have gone away and been replaced by trues. So we're, making progress. But I think those are these. These are both true. So if those are true, then we are not self.enabled. So fucking self.enabled equals false. This is how we'll override it. This is how we'll make sure that it happens. So after the super, we do that. And then we do that. In fact, I'll put it together so that it makes more, like, logical sense when you look back at the little fucking hack that I've gotten here. Scrollable object has no attribute length. Let's go fuck yourself. What are you talking about? Line 540 in enable if self.length, self.length 2. And you're telling me I have no attribute of linked yet. Alright, well that's an issue. I'll give you that that's an issue. So where do I want to put that? Self dot, hate typing self. Self dot linked equals false. Boom. And it's still not fucking doing? And now it's not even dragging. Holy shitting pooping shit. We're calling the super right there. If not self-enabled. And, like, I'm setting self.enabled to false, so we should fall into that. And then we should call the super of enable, which would do the self.enabled equals true, by the end of it, it should fire all of these things and do the update hover. All right, it's just the code trying to stop me. Run a level 4 diagnostic suggestion. It's just the code trying to stop me from putting in a shitty little, dodge hack, walk around the end zone, mama. It's one of those is what it doesn't want me to do, and it's right. I shouldn't be doing it. Our enable call here includes enabling the handle. Yes. In order to get the enable to fire, self.enabled equals false. Because it's not. It hasn't been enabled yet. Yeah. And then when we click enable, it will be enabled. Okay, now what? In disable, scrollable object has no attribute handle. And why would you be calling disable? Update hover, widget dot disable, which is being called from the update hover, which is being instantiated from 5.11 in... Alright, take me to 5.11. Update hover self. And you're trying to call disable? Now I put this back under here. .538 self.handle.enable. Fuck, this whole enabled disabled thing, because I've got a child and a parent, and the parent needs to run the enable of the... When you instantiate it, it's going to do that thing, and then, but it doesn't, and your mama, yo mama, could I, in the scrollable, call the super enable, and then if we're not enabled, then run the other shit? Now it works. Now it works. I finally got there. Okay, now the mouse hover is working again. When we click on it, the click action is all of it's working again. And in fact, what I can do is go back to the clicked thing where I added calling the super, and I can get rid of that. I think. I can't get rid of that. Whatever you do, don't get rid of that. That would be a bad idea. Don't get rid of that. Because we're overriding it, and then we do need to call the original. Yes. Okay, no. I know what I'm doing. It's working now. Why is it working? I don't know. It's been this. I'm so confused. No, it's because when we call enable, we will now be disabled. Self.enabled is equal to false. So when the instantiation of the parent, which happens down here in the super, when we do the super, it's going to call enable when it's done. And that enable is going to be this enable, because we've overridden it from the child class. But it's going to call the original enable from the first one first, and then it's going to check to see if we're enabled, and then it can run that. So basically, this stuff will happen before this stuff, and then we're good. If this stuff tries to run before that happens, that's all that needed to be the whole time, was that we needed to make sure that the super enable happened before any of this shit happened. Also, I'm actually still a little bit confused, because when we run the .enable of the super, that's this. And when it gets to the end of it, it will do the enabled equals true, update hover, and then this will only run if we're not enabled. So we'll be true, and then it will block from doing any of this stuff, which it can't do yet because handle doesn't exist yet, because we're running it out of the initialization of the super. Okay. I'm also going to move the super back up to, like, the place where it just makes more sense for me to have it, and that shouldn't mess anything up. And it didn't, and we're good. It's all back, and it's all running again, and we have switched the scrollable class from being a pushable to being a trophable. Now, another thing that I think what I'm going to do is, because there's so many variables, I've already done it for the scrollable class, there's so many variables here that are like little bitchy things. They're little bitchy things. That I'm just going to leave them so that you can set them. You can change them after you've initialized the thing. You can come and say, okay, scrollable, and then you can say scrollable.init delay and change the init delay. You can say these are public variables that you can change. But I'm not going to put them in the instantiation of the function. I did it! I did it! 5 rupees! I did it. But yeah, I'm not going to put them up here because there's too much shit. Too much shit to, have to instantiate, or options to put in the same bar. Like, these will be things that you change after the fact, after you've instantiated it. If you really feel the need to change the initialized delay for clicking on this and its dragability and stuff like that. And this is what I mean by that. See that? There's like a half-second delay until it fires the first one. And then after it's fired the first one, it's near instantaneous because it's firing every 100 milliseconds. So 10 times a second it'll fire that one. We got it. We got it back, and we changed this to a class that makes a whole lot more sense for it to be, and everything seems to be working again, including my little, pop-out overlay, that stuff, and it goes down, it comes back up, it's you mouse over it, you get the little logo there. If you tab, you'll see the logo, and it's all working. It's all working. Minimize, unminimize, we're good. We're very, very good. Okay, that is a huge deal, and still, this is the one that's like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man. That works. That's the one place in the entire code here that it just doesn't know. PyCharm doesn't get it. Unresolved attribute reference drawbars for class skinnable. You think it's a skinnable, but it's not. It's not a skinnable. You think it's a skinnable because this is a trophable, and a trophable is a backgroundable, and no, I don't see why you'd think that is a skinnable. Because if there's nothing for the track, then it makes it a skinnable by default for the trophable. Yeah, whatever. That makes sense. That is supposed to be like that for the idea of you being able to build a scroll bar for yourself from scratch. Because you would just put a single skinnable into a trophable because it just takes the 4 images. Yeah. But anyway, how many images are we working on? PyImage, 28 images is all that's being loaded. When we started this live stream, this thing was loading 56 images. And we've changed we haven't changed the amount of images. We've just changed, we've made our code smarter so that it doesn't waste memory storing the same image twice, because it can and does see when it gets in a duplicate. Checked MO? Well, then I'll just set that to page because we've already got that loaded in. It came in a second time. It's a duplicate. I'll just set it to that one. So let's take out those prints we've gotten here, because I don't want the cops catching up to me again. You always got to remove your prints when you're done. Trust me. It's not worked out in the past. You take the time, get a cloth and just wipe it down. It's no big deal. You might want to pick up the semen too, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, if you're not on record, they're not going to know anything. Anyway, everything's working. Everything is awesome. Everything is great when you're part of a team. Let's just make sure that it's still working when I don't load in a skin. So if I get rid of this, and then I get rid of this, I don't load in a skin, that still does the mouse over, that still drags, mouse over is still active, yep, boom. Everything works in all of the scenarios. Brilliant. Brilliant. So let's go ahead and drop the horizontal scroll bar that we had up just for the sake of being able to see it and testing. And now we're back to this. Loverly. Today has been the image optimization day, and I was working on it all day before we started on the live stream as well, so it really has been, for me, the whole day has been image optimization day, and we're there. We did it, and the way that we did it, by which I mean I did it, and where were you? Well, you were around for the last 3 hours. The way that I did it is by taking code that already did this. Like, the last time you saw this code, this program looked exactly like this. And in order to get it looking exactly like this again, I have added, we're now up to 802 lines of code from back when it was like 550 and looked like this. But because of that, like, the whole thing is stronger, better implemented, uses less memory space, makes more sense in terms of, like, the way that the instantiation and inheritance of one class to the next, and the code is just cleaner and more straightforward. The scrollable class is still like 1,000,000 miles long, and I hate it. I hate the fact that it's 1,000,000 miles long, but I don't know what to do about that. I really don't even want to dig into this. Don't want to dig into trying to, like, figure out how to consolidate this mass of code. I think all of it is really necessary.
Need your handouts.
Hey!
I'm an adult.
Bleed Purple 2000 bonus 200 we did it Dora the Explorer.
Do we go left or right? Okay, left. That's right for you guys. Thank you, Germasian. Jesus Christ, no, 2,000 bits, which is $20, plus an extra 200 by bleeding purple all over me. You get what do you get? 16,882 bits in a week. The man has lost his mind in the best way. Thank you, Germasian. Keep losing that, just baking that noodle. What are you smoking? Smoke more of it. Well, not too much more, because you might just lose consciousness entirely, and then I don't know how you're gonna be able to throw money at my face while you're on the floor, just drooling. Ah! Oh, sorry. I may have just made the sound do horrible things to your ears. That's what I give you as repayment for all the money. Just smacking my sound equipment. I think there is a little bit of fuzz in the background now, is there? I'm just watching the levels sort of bounce. Check. Test. Hey, now it sounds even louder. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is a lot oh, shit. I've done it, haven't I? You guys have all had your headphones and speakers adjusted. It sounds like a buzz. Time for new equipment. Is there a buzz now, or is it just, like, loud? I don't see a buzz anymore. I'm watching the levels right now, and I think it's just really, really loud. But is there a buzz in with the loudness when you hear me? Is there any kind of zzzz in the background? Adjust your speakers. The audience is now deaf. I may have been complaining about the phantom power of the InnoGear wrongly then, because it may be the connection with the InnoGear and the connection with my direct input box that has been causing, sometimes I get half volume and sometimes I get full volume. Sounded like a but it doesn't sound that way anymore, does it? Hang on. Hello, I am the Ronin Pawn. How's that? Is that preferable for a medium volume level? Or did you like it hot? Some like it hot. Do you like it hot, baby? Or do you want it, here? Here or good and loud? No, says RMAJ. It's too quiet? Is it too quiet then? Just pop back up to the high level. Jesus. Check. 1, 2. Coming to you live from D-Town, Detroit, Michigan. Give it to me hot. Some like it hot. There we go. We've fixed my microphone. We've fixed my code. What's next? What the hell is next for this code now that I've got it to where it, doesn't waste image space? Like, for this library, what's the next step? And I'm thinking maybe I made a file for, like, extensions, which are, like, the idea of convenience extensions to be able to label things. Labelable text, labelable toggle. But, like, for the core code, what comes next after what I've got going right now? I've got the ability to have these child windows that they'll always be on top of, the first window. They're linked correctly. They track with the thing. All the buttons are working. I did come up with an idea, actually. Oh, well, I came up with a number of ideas, didn't I? See, the trougable, skin images, no unskinning, skinnable, scroll skinnable. I came up with an idea for a class called a guiABLE. Class idea for a guiABLE. And it's just more manipulation with the idea of buttons and pushables and things. We've got, in the library here, we've got a clickable, which the moment that you click it, fires the function. So as soon as the mouse goes down on it, boom, fires a function. Then we've got what all these are, which is pushables, where you hold it down, and if you walk off of it, it releases. And if you come back on it while you're still holding the mouse down, then it will, reactivate. But you have to, like, mouse up on the thing in order to fire it. And that's just how a button works. So you got the pushable, you get the clickable. We've got the holdable, which is what enables the functions. Or actually, it's no longer a holdable, is it? Is it? Well, this is a draggable, and a draggable is a holdable. But a holdable, you can have a button in this when you hold it down, it will do things tick, 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 tick. It'll do it 10 times a second or half a second. Like, you can set it up. So the idea of a guiABLE, and it would have to be called something else because that's too ambiguous. But the reason I was calling it a guiABLE was because it would be like having a keyboard, by which I mean a piano. Maybe a pianoable. It would be a button where if you were holding down the mouse button and you dragged over it, it would fire. That'd be the idea. You hold down the mouse button, you drag over it, and as soon as the mouse enters in, it fires when it's active. And that would be kind of like, having a keyboard. That's why I think of it as a keyboard. But just another, basically the same class, or basically the same concept as all of these classes, just it fires at a slightly different, time. And in fact, that would be very close to being a pushable.
On Césaire was disque du got into en accident and couldn't come to school but when finally came back he said the turned from black into bright white aside that it was from when the car had smashed him so hard.
Once there was this kid who got into an accident and couldn't come to school, but when he finally came back, his hair had turned from black into bright white. He said that it was from when the cars had smashed him so hard. It's good music. It's good music. That would be like the guiABLE, or pianable, or the piable, as On the Edge suggests, would be very close to a clickable, right? It would just fire as long as the button was down. So if I had a class, rollable? Because you can roll over it. We'll call it a rollable for now. I don't know. And the rollable was a clickable. We don't need to add in the function, so we can just override the methods here. When it's clicked, it changes the background color, changes the image, and fires the function. So what we would override here would be the mouse in, which is inherited from the hoverable. And on the mouse in, it needs to have an event. So we override the mouse in. And if we're clicking, do we have a clicking state at this point? We don't. We add that in pushable. Well, if I made it a pushable, when we mouse in, if self.clicking, self.moused over equals true. Self.clicked event. Self.clicked event. I think we're just going to... I'm not going to instantiate. I'm not going to do that. If the rollable were a pushable, because we need that initialized value in that one. So the rollable is a pushable, and we're going to end up overriding all of the specific values of it, aren't we? Well, we probably had to anyway. We'll find out. So the mouse in would, if we are clicking when we mouse in, if self.clicking equals true. Jesus, this must have been early in development. Oh no, that's setting it. Okay, I was going to say, if self.clicking. I thought I was actually saying if self.clicking equals true, instead of just saying if self.clicking. If self.clicking, then self.function. So we will fire the event that has been associated with it just once on the mouse in exclusively. When it is clicked, then we would call the super oh god. So it needs to have an event that comes in. We'd call the super of it, which is self.clicking equals true, configure BG red, create image. So we want all of those things to happen. But we also want it to fire the function. And this feels shitty because, like, in the clickable class, that's exactly how it acts. But the pushable, you know, brings in this one line of code and therefore makes it worth my time. I don't know. We'll see. So self.function, call it if you've clicked. And then when we mouse up, nothing really happens. Yeah, see, the mouse up is too much shit, isn't it? Okay, we're going back to the other one. Back to the other premise here. Which is that you are a clickable. And you will add all of this shit. So you're going to initialize yourself with the parent, the function, a skinnable, and some kwargs if you want them. We'll set self.clicking equals false, and then we will change this so that when you mouse in, you call the function if you are clicking. When you are clicked, we need you to self dot what? Yeah, self dot clicking equals true. And then this stuff. And then fire the function. Yep. So you mouse in, and if you're clicking, then you do that stuff, and then we're going to need the mouse out to also register the idea of if you're clicking. Actually, it doesn't matter. Mouse out would just need to do the mouse out event and do nothing. Mouse in is doing that if you're clicking. One way or another, when you mouse in... Actually, no. If you're clicking, then we call to clicked. Because we want the colors to change and everything too. So we would call to clicked with the event. And then otherwise, we will call the super of the mouse in event so that it just does what a mouse in usually does, which is change the images. Change the colors and the images and stuff like that. So there's mouse in and then clicked, and then mouse out wouldn't do anything special. Mouse up wouldn't do anything special, just do what it always does. So boom, that's all it took to make a rollable class. And now since I've made a rollable class like that, what I can do is make a pushable a rollable. And then I cannot bother instantiating it like that, because I'm instantiating this one, I'm adding the idea of the clicking, the false, the function lambda and everything like that, and then the pushable is a rollable, where we override the mouse in, and we do, if we're clicking when we mouse in, then self-moused over equals true and self.clicked event, and if we're not, then we call the super, which is going to call here, and check if we're self.clicking, and if we are, then we would call the self.clicked event. So basically, none of that, we don't even need to override mouse in. If we're clicking, then call self.clicked. Yeah. Oh, this is the other thing that needs to be in there, though. So if, when we mouse in, we're moused over, yes. Then if self.clicking, all that kind of shit. But this is the same now as the other. So we don't need a mouse in event. It's going to call to clicked. In this one, our clicked calls the function. And we don't want to do that in a pushable. We just want it to set those colors. And then if we mouse up while we're moused over, then we'll fire the function and update the hover and all that kind of stuff. So now the pushable is just two little function calls. The rollable is 2, the pushable is 2, and everything just inherits and inherits and inherits. Does that work? You're still working? You're still working, everything works. Everything still works, and I've added a class. I like it. Now you can get rickrolled in my library. You get all rollable and whatnot. Rolling, rolling down the river. Let's see. Rolling. Rocking, rocking and rolling. And down to the beach I'm strolling. But the seagulls poke at my head. No fun, I said. Seagulls. Stop it now. Nothing I can do but chill when these birds attack me. When I start run, I feel, and then these kids are laughing. I really want to do that as like karaoke and do it all like, you know, just get really into the like gravel voice kind of thing. And now run, 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 jump. Just really get deep into it. I love this song, Desire May J. It's good, isn't it? It's good. Also, what's the other one? Rollin'. We could be, let's see. Rollin' in the, how does Adele's thing go? Rollin' in the deep. We could have had it. We could have had it all. Motherfucking fish rolling in the deep. Little callback reference to Game Grumps there. Fish, fish, now more this fish. Here's another fish. We're rolling in the deep. Wow, that was resonant with the beer can. I'm gonna make it explode. Clearance Clearwater Revival. I think it's the Credence Clearance Creedwater Revival. Is that what it is? It's cool. Now I've got a rollable class. I mean, I'd have to actually instantiate one to see if it works. All right, who wants to make? We'll make one up real quick. So place the buttons. Let's place an extra button. A button? Yeah, we'll place a button. So extra button. Button is going to be a rollable. Ooh, motherfucking D. Actually, the button needs to be down here. Button, and you're a rollable. And then the skin for this button doesn't need to exist at all. Okay, so how you like me now? We will just not fire the self.exit. We will do we'll do a lambda, which is just an inline anonymous function. Lambda print motherfucking fish. And give it a try. So wait a second, I didn't change like where it gets placed, or I didn't tell it to place it at all, did I? No, you didn't. So and you just close scan. No. It's you need to button dot place on the X. You know, obviously we want it 20 in, and then on the Y, clearly 20 down. Top left corner maybe. Will it fit? Okay, so now we got a little button there. So when we mouse over it, it doesn't do anything. When we click it, it motherfucking fished me. And now if I roll over it again, it motherfucking fished me. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. It's a rollable. You could make a keyboard with that. You know, attach that to firing sounds and stuff. Boom. Motherfucking fish. Here we are, down among all these fucking fish. I actually love that song, too. I learned all the lyrics to that one. That would be one to do with the karaoke as well. Cool. Fish, like shark lady fish? Maybe. Depends on how many bleeding heart cheers I get. Oh, it's 16,902 from Dramatian, 413 from Rex, and 60 from Zorglov. Yeah, I think we're good. You can have all the fish ladies that you can eat, or whatever you want to do with it. Don't tell me. I know what you want to do with them. Please don't tell me. I think I'm done for the day. Like, I'm actually at the point where I'm making up classes just because it's like, hey, I had a stupid idea. I might actually be done with this library in its second incarnation. And I have majorly changed it since I put what I put up on GitHub here. So the GitHub guiABLE, if we just pop into the code for it, is 543 lines, 20.7 KB. The code that I have right now to support basically the same functions, but better, has gone from, what was it again? 543 lines to 810 lines. We now have 810 lines. It's just, you know, you get proud of how many lines you've done. Any addict will tell you that. More like what they want to do with me. And it's all lewd. Oh, the shark ladies? Yeah. You know, when you invent a race, you get to basically imagine that they want your bod, and I'm down. I'm so proud of all this stuff. So, well, not all of it. Most of this, like 90% of this stuff, I'm quite proud of. When you get, the closer that you get down to the scroll bar shit, the more I look at that and go, I'm not sure. Like, the rest of this, I feel pretty confident, you know, right up until you hit the Trophable class, I feel pretty confident that it's all, like, well-coded, not wasteful, reasonably implemented, you know, with improvements possible, maybe. But I feel like it's good. And then when you get down to this stuff, it's just, it gets into like, I'm not exactly sure about that. But then when you get past the scroll bar stuff and you get down to like the bar skin, This stuff, I feel good about it. I mean, the bar skin is a brief class, and let's take some of these extra spaces out of it. Bar skin is a brief, solid class that does what it does and nothing else, and also doesn't fail, when you throw it oddities. So, there you go with the little, everybody likes it. And then the scrollable skin class just sort of nests bar skins so that it can send double, it can have 2 of them to hand to a scroll bar that needs it, and that's also, like, quick and concise and just does what it needs to do. And then the scrollable pane skin, is just 2 scrollable skins packaged together, so basically every command is just send the same command twice to the 2 things that we instantiated. I'm happy with this. I'm very, very happy with this, and I think I've supported a lot of the basic functionality that you could want for developing any UI. For having a skinnable Python user interface, where you can control everything about how it looks. Right there, baby. Right there. Then just hold me down and, okay. So I think we've come to the end of this live stream, is where I stand. Because I've done all of the things that I can think of to do with this library. Like, I had issues, I had problems, I had places I wanted to go, to different directions I wanted to go in development, and I think we just cleared them all out, and even a couple that I hadn't thought of before. Selectable, my name or number. There are, like, convenience classes to be made. And some of these get really, really complicated. Selectables, the idea of having, like, more of like a listable, I guess it was, like a list that you can, just give it. What I want to do is make it so that you could feed anything into the list. You could feed text or you could feed objects, and the list would go, okay, you gave me text and you gave me an object. I'm going to put the text, on grid column 1, and then the data on grid column 2 because you gave it to me, in that order. And you'd end up with a list, and you could just fill it with anything, and then have a list like I've got here, like you haven't been looking at it, like I've got here, except for this is really just you can't click individually on these. I mean, you can, but they don't, like, select or highlight or anything like that. This is just to be able to, have the scroll bars there for you to interact with. Very simple little class, too, writing that up. But the idea of having a open list class where you can just say, I want in a window a list, and the scroll bars would automatically append, and then you could just pump data and pump things into the list and be able to, recall and access and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of little, like, convenience classes that, so that you don't have to build them on the fly as you need them. That said, the little scrollable list that I created for my checkboxes, I created, on the fly in my implementation in, just highlighting it now, 10 lines. 10 lines. So, it really is convenience classes, because you can class these things up yourself pretty easily. But, it's there to be added. 3 hours, Pawn? No, at least 5, man. No, I've decided to go as long as I want to and then leave. No, but I'm definitely choosing to get myself more comfortable with the idea of doing the shorter live streams again. I have more energy at the beginning. I'm in a better mood. The longer that we stay here, the more, I just can't. I get tired of looking over at chat and seeing stuff about shark ladies. I am the Ronin Bomb, and I'm rolling in the deep. Wow, he can hit a falsetto note, can he? We will be back here this Sunday, probably, at 4 p.m. with something. Either I will be, still sitting here coding.
I don't need your handouts. I'm an adult.
BLEDPURPLE3000BONUS 300
Senpai Party Time. Jesus, Jamasian. Up to 20,202 bits this week. I'm supposed to go to pull it out. It's not. We're not gonna do that. It's where I was supposed to go, but I didn't go. I'm still here. I just can't figure the buttons to click. All right, just pause for a second with the game, of course. Jesus, 3,300 more bits up to 20,202. It's $202.02 from Dermacian this week. It's not all about shark ladies. There's lots of BDSM as well. Well, all right, then let's end it on, $202 worth of cheers and shark ladies. All right, now pulling out.